So you have 6.
Oh.
Good crit, good crit. You slept pretty nicely. Adrenaline makes for a really good night's sleep.
Okay, cool.
Miss Sabrina, you're awoken to some sounds. You actually can hear what they're saying. Everyone but Connor hears. Second. It's a waning crescent moon. Not quite a new moon yet. You got another night or two to go on that. And last night, you had an interesting session. I know there's a Galliard that wants to tell a story about what's going to happen, so I'm going to skip the recap.
It's technically the same day, right? So we don't get willpower.
You do not get willpower. You got it last night. Same
Alright.
day. Probably
So
about
is it January 2nd, right?
January 2nd. Day
Alright.
after
Oh, yeah.
New Year's Day.
I was a little confused for a moment.
First
Yeah, I was
session,
just checking.
New Year's Eve night. Second session, and well, the end of the first session, the morning of, and then New Year's Day, you had your little run-in in the sewers in the warehouse. And now we get to the second. Guys ready to play?
Yes.
Yep.
Start things off with awareness and perception roll.
Awareness and perception.
Hmm.
Wait, do you mean alertness?
Alertness and perception, because I keep mixing those up because one's vampire and one's werewolf, and I will forever mix those two up.
Difficulty 6?
Diff 6, my friends.
I don't have a dot in alertness, so it's too higher.
It is not too higher for the left-hand side of talents. It's too higher for skills, and you can't roll it all for knowledges. That's a very weird and obscure werewolf rule.
So I have 4 successes.
I have 1 success.
1 success.
Seijun, you're gonna wake up first. You are awoken to the sound of conflict. 2 voices shouting outside. 1 female, 1 male. The male one you, with 4 successes, recognize. You know that Shadow Lord's rasp in defense. If you, well, you heard it quite a bit last night. You can make out a couple words here and there. It's only when you stand up that you really can hear some of the complaints. It goes a little like this. 13 days to complete their rite of passage. Why? Will the apocalypse happen if they don't? Is this some shitty plot device? Where are they going? Let me guess. The frog went back into hibernate before we could get an answer. There's a murmur back, and that gets a little bit, well, they get a little quieter.
So Station decides to quietly wake up the rest of the people and decides to try and like overhear what's going on.
5 more minutes.
I wake up with the jerk and I start like putting my fists up as if expecting to fight, and then I see it's you, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry. I'm up. What's going on?
Be quiet. Yeah, we're going to have to like listen in to something. Or Misha's fighting with someone else. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I try to listen.
Roll it again.
Same roll.
Mm-hmm.
Same roll. 1 success.
Is that a pure botch?
That's a pure botch. I'm still
Oh my
sleepy.
god.
I'm sleepy as hell.
Miss Sabrina, you want to roll
Oh,
again?
I figured she was just still laying in bed. I wasn't even thinking of listening. Alright, sorry.
Oh
Two
wait,
six.
I
Two
think I
successes.
probably should like roll a willpower roll because I have nightmare swap.
That's right. You have nightmares. So
Oh no.
Yeah.
give me a roll on that. You know what the roll is, right?
Willpower roll.
Willpower roll diff 8. I completely missed that, and that is in my notes. I think
I
you're
thought
going
it
to
was
be safe.
difficulty 7.
It's either 7 or
Yeah.
8, but I'm okay with checking
Yeah, it's 7.
really
It's
quick.
7.
It's 7. Nice.
4 successes.
You don't have nightmares. You actually have a lot more than 4 successes. You have 6.
Oh.
Good crit, good crit. You slept pretty nicely. Adrenaline makes for a really good night's sleep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sabrina, you're awoken to some sounds. You actually can hear what they're saying. Everyone but Connor hears it effectively. How many did you get, SJ? You got 1.
I got 1.
Connor hears something along the lines of throw them in combat.
Oh.
The rest of you hear a little bit more. Luna, scars, that's something we need to learn about before we throw them in combat, is the full phrase. Whoever this female is, she's yelling. You can almost feel the ground shake as she bellows at this other individual.
Guys, should we jump in?
I kind of want to see if she beats up Misha first. So
Connor's just kind of mumbling to himself.
Okay.
Is that your action? Do nothing? Is that your choice?
I can't hear anything. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just watching them and sort of trying to see what's going on.
So continue listening, probably, I guess.
One more roll.
Okay.
Same thing. Okay.
Same roll.
I'm going to use my hold on. I'm going to use my freaking where is it? My acute hearing to lower the difficulty by 1. I need to remember to do that more often.
Gotta
It's really
declare
good.
it.
I'm just saying I'm loving typing it in just because I can press the up arrow and just like recopy over the formula.
3 successes.
I got 2 successes.
3.
You all hear this one. You hear something about, well, it goes a little like this. So the third one's an unknown. Okay. That's another thing on the list. Gets quiet for a moment. And then loud once more. So no due diligence. Did we talk to the families? Did we make sure they're safe? Did we do anything about contacting them? And this is where the voice gets very, very loud. All the basic things we do before we throw them into combat. And then silence.
I look at Seijun and Sabrina, and I say, "It sounds like he's in trouble."
Yeah.
Good. I feel a little bit more justified in chewing him out yesterday too.
There's a tap on the
Yeah.
door. And the galliard known as Shallow Track sticks his head in. Guys, you're awake?
You know, it's kind of hard to sleep with Misha getting yelled at. It's such a lovely experience to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What? What's
I
happened,
woke
Shallow
up to the
Tracks?
sound of fighting.
What's happened, Shallow Tracks?
He motions with his head for you to follow along, and then he closes the door.
Okay, and I make myself presentable.
I'll say there's really no looking presentable in like these Garou clothes.
Actually, I think technically I still only have pants and that's it.
I'm gonna hand wave that you have clothing. Might not
Oh,
be the
okay.
most fashionable,
Yeah.
but there's always a community box of some clothing to pass around, and there's always a third trying to practice their craft of talisman dedication.
Nice.
The difference between me and these two is I make this look good.
Connor's just a mountain man. He doesn't care.
Agent does like the minimal like operations stuff and then just follows along.
Say pull hair into like a ponytail or something, and then go out.
I go out too to see what awaits us.
Out of the bedroom, down the squeaky, creaky hall, past the kitchen, still smelling of bacon and, well, watery hazelnut coffee. Out the front door and into the world. It was a little bit warm last night. Most of the snowy patches from yesterday have been cleared up, but the ground's still brown, dirty, sand-colored. Grass won't grow here for another few more months. In front of you are two Garou in their Hamid forms. One you know, individual known as Misha. Arms crossed, he's looking indigent, looks annoyed. The other you do not. She's a tall, muscular woman with blonde hair, shaved on the sides with a long braid in the back. She wears a special forces outfit, a Kevlar jacket. She looks over to the three of you coming out. 1, 2, 3. She stops at one of you. Her brows raise up. She blinks once and then looks back at Misha. So this is them. She says this, but she already knows the answer. Shadow tracks. He's not too far away. He's about on the side of the cabin, sipping a coffee. If you catch eyes with him, he'll give you a nod and he'll raise the cup up to you.
I nod to him.
Shy wave.
She motions
Not
for you to come.
that.
Where are we going?
Well, she motions you to come closer. She's standing next to Misha. There's a small little, well, kind of like a hot pot around them. A couple old, chopped up wooden, we'll say, seating positions around them. They've been sanded and polished and cleaned quite a bit. She motions for you, the three of you to come on over.
I do.
Station follows up. Yeah.
Yeah, follow.
You get closer. So, I don't think anyone's actually told you this, but my name is Heather Rainer Argus, Anthrophilodox of the Black Fury tribe, needed risk of rain.
Nice to meet you. My
Yeah.
name is Connor.
My name is Seijun Kang.
Sabrina.
Pleasure. Typically, when a Garou meets another, particularly when one approaches the territory of another, they must announce themselves. But I'll get to that in just a minute. Would you please take a seat?
I take a seat.
I wordlessly take a seat.
So, my understanding is you did good last night. You have questions. I'm going to answer them the best that I can. But Connor, you're the Galliard. Yes?
That's what they tell me.
Stand up, please.
I stand up.
You see a smile just for a second, but then it quickly goes away. As a Galliard, your job is to grant immortality, for without you, the deeds of a nation are lost. We call it singing. Tell the story. Sing the song of last night. What happened?
Oh, okay. Last night, we were brought to the frog at the sept. We were brought before the frog, who awoke from his, I assume, deep sleep. he spoke to Misha and Shallowtrax and told them that we had to prepare to become full Garou, but all the frog said was we had 2 weeks. 2 weeks to get ready for our rite of passage, and I glance at Misha and Shallowtrax, and I say, which was... It's unheard of, I've been told. Anyway, we come back here, we're offered drinks. Next thing I know, I'm passing out, and I wake up in some kind of body bag and find out that Sejun and Sabrina have also been hidden in body bags. And Sabrina's the one who gets out first, and she rescues us. And then we hear from somewhere, wherever he is, Misha telling us to kill these Fomori that were trapped in this weird structure. So we are confronted by 3 Fomori. I kill one, and then, technically I killed all three of them, but Sejun and Sabrina did a number on them as well, and we proceeded forward. We were told by Misha to have heart, and we got towards the office of this building, and we found a woman who seemed to be scared, and we tried to get help. We tried to help her, but then I realized that she didn't have a heartbeat, and then we found out she was a vampire. We talked, then she discovered, we let it slip that we were involved with that night at the bar where we had our, whatever it's called, the first transformation, I suppose. And Sejun came out of hiding and instantly killed her and reduced her to ashes. From there, we got the key from her ashes, and Misha took us out. And we came back here.
She puts a nail to her lips. Probably a B+. My daughter would grill you alive for it, but not bad. You're not ready for a moot yet, but there's potential.
A moot?
Misha, you told them the bare minimum, didn't you? He raises up his hand to speak, and then spreads his hand out wide. He's not gonna bother. Okay. Don't know what a moot is.
Isn't
Good
that
to
some
know.
kind of Norse term or something?
There's like the King's Moot in Game of Thrones.
There's moots in Skyrim.
Everything seems to be a Norse term to you.
Right. So, I want to get you situated here, which means figuring out what to do with your current life and your past life in order to make your future life go forward. Eventually, we have to figure out what this whole 14 days is, what this matter is with this scar, and, well, why 3 Garou exploded to life on the same night. New Year's Eve, for that matter. When we can't even communicate with the outside to call reinforcements.
I mean, I've got no guesses.
I also note that you probably either you weren't told or you skillfully left out the whole matter of the bar and that outcome.
Yeah, the bar. I look at Shallowtrax briefly and I say, I still have to follow up with certain information there.
We don't have a lot of time. If it's true, and that's typically how prophecies work, they come knocking. If you choose not to act on it, they come waking you up. If you choose not to follow them, well, bad things happen. I'll tell you the story of my daughter sometime.
But with prophecies, it's about the future, but I always felt that the future was always in motion, always changing.
Depends on who you ask, who you believe. There are some futures that we cannot overcome. One of them might just be a fiery end for all of us. Hard to say.
At this point, I just cross my arms and just wait for someone else to speak.
So, we'll go line by line. Connor, parents, 2 of them.
Yes.
Do they know that they're kinfolk?
I don't think so. I mean, there was nothing at all in all the years that I lived with them since I was born to ever clue me in on this.
And one of them clearly isn't a Garou.
No.
You sure?
I think I would know, wouldn't I? Wouldn't there be clear signs or something?
Some of us are very good at suppressing it, but usually you would see some signs. Really, I just want to hear you speak. There's a couple colloquialisms our auspices have. One of my favorites is never ignore a galliard.
What am I supposed to say, though? I mean, I just said as far as I know, my parents don't know a thing.
Anything from your old job, anything from your old life.
No, I mean, the only thing, and I mentioned this to them earlier, is that I grew up having nightmares and dreams, and I mean, I guess I kind of had anger issues when I was a kid. I mean, not totally to a huge extent. I mean, there was
Right. She snaps her fingers a few times. She doesn't want to hear about your past. Right now, old job, a car, a college, anything with ties.
with like people I know.
Yes.
I mean, my friends at the bar who, and I look pointedly at Shalatrax, I still need to hear about if they're even alive.
She looks right at you. Assume that they're not. It's just easier that way.
I can't accept that yet. I have to know.
Shalatrax, when we break, get the names, give it to some of the kinfolk. You said you had a car in tow, and you gave that to Shalatrax as well. We've identified that. If you want to go hunt for it, maybe that's something we can do, but we don't have a lot of downtime.
Yeah, I'd like to get that squared away.
Thank you. She looks right to Seijun. You're not from around here, are you?
Yeah, I'm from Korea originally.
Any family? Any friends? Anyone in the area? And I mean in the state.
Couple of college friends that I went into the bar that I have no idea whether are dead or alive, just like Connor.
Assume that they're dead. It's easier that way.
Yeah, I told him that earlier as well, so...
There's some advantages to going back, to having a cover. If we're going to do that, you have to make that decision today. After 3 days, the odds of finding a survivor are nil, and they look very suspicious.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. Last one. The third. Stand, please.
I stand up.
She looks up, blinks. She's like, Sabrina, is it?
Yes.
Can I call you Sabs? My daughter had a mentor that had a pack-mate name. Well, everyone called her Sabs. She was a third as well. Cute nickname.
I mean, I guess I can't stop you.
Black Fury blood, yes?
Yes. Not 100% sure where, but yes.
Greek Isles, give or take a guess.
Uh,
What's in the
I-
area for you?
my dad, just a couple friends from high school I haven't really talked to in a few months.
Right. Dad, do you know if he's... How about your mom?
Haven't met her 100%. I mean, I got a letter from her once, like, on my 17th birthday, and like all that, but I haven't really met her.
What did you get in the 17th birthday?
A pair of earrings, platinum, crescent moon shaped things.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do the rite of heritage myself on you. Okay.
Say, I think, what's his face, Shadow Tracks, I think it was, said it would have been my mom who was the Garou.
Hmm. Good to know. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about that later.
Okay.
That's curious. Very curious. You weren't... Your family's not from Massachusetts at all, by chance? Medford, maybe?
Um, I don't know 100%. I don't think so.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Alright,
My dad's from. Wait, where did I say?
believe you said Manchester.
No, I think it was like a Portsmouth or something.
Portsmouth. That's
Yeah,
right, you
Portsmouth.
wanted a Lovecraftian town.
I didn't know that was Lovecraftian. I just like the aesthetic of a harbor town.
Any harbor town is a Lovecraft town if you believe hard enough.
So, if your mother is one of us, and your father is a kinfolk, he's probably freaking out right now.
Well, I don't know if he's kinfolk or not. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay,
I don't know what that means 100%.
so I'm gonna, after this, Shalatrax actually, go get the kinfolk, see if you can find, at least get them on a phone call. Don't give it away that their children are alive. That's a choice they need to make. Some find it easier to give up everything and start a new life.
I mean, I prefer to be alive.
Some find it easier to be alive. So, she claps her hands together. Who's pissed at Misha?
I raise my
Raise
hand.
hand.
I half raised my hand.
I mean, I'm also a
Excellent.
little mad at Wolfie Boy here. I point at Seijun.
Why are you mad at him?
Well, we were having a nice conversation, and then the girl was like panicked a little because the Connor here was like, "Oh yeah, we got in a massacre," and she was rightfully scared. And then say June here just jumped in out of nowhere and ripped out her throat in his wolf form.
Krynos, but you
No, it was like a giant wolf.
Hispo. Okay.
Krynos, yeah.
No, I think Seijun was in Krynos.
Oh.
Actually, I was getting into Krynos, but she was already dead when I transformed.
So he ripped out the neck of a leech and
And the
Yeah.
heart.
the heart.
I'll say the conversation was going decent until they were decided to, rip out their throats.
Oh, you poor sweet summer child.
I mean, I was told that afterwards that leeches don't do good. I mean, I don't know.
Hmm. Not at all. I'm no Galliard. My daughter probably could tell the story far better than I can, but they are a being of unlife. And anytime you have a being of unlife with us, we typically don't get along very well. So, like I said, who hates Misha right now?
Raise hand.
Raise hand.
Okay, good. We're going to figure out why he may have done something incorrect. What do you think of that?
Sure.
He's an interesting individual. Shadow Lords are always... Did he tell you not to trust him?
Yes.
Only after we got drugged and were
Yeah.
in the process of falling asleep.
This is why I don't drink.
You're making this easy for me, Misha. Oh boy. So, you might think we're wild monsters, inhuman beasts, but we don't have a lot of rules, but the ones we do have are important. Sacred even. 13 tenets. We call them the litany.
Is 13 like our magic number? Because Misha or Shadow Talks was saying there was like 13 tribes and like now there's 13 laws. Like
It used to be 16, but it's a lucky number. Anyway, the Galliards usually tell the best stories, but when it comes to law and order, the Philodox, my own
dun.
half moon,
I glance at Sabrina.
Misha looks over. He's like, "So, my ear still hurts. So, just an FYI, probably not a good idea to upset her."
Hey, I'm not planning to upset her.
May I continue,
Or
or
I
would you
guess-
like to tell the story? That's what I thought. So, once upon a time, before human beings recorded the rise and fall of empires and civilizations as history, werewolves held dominion over the world, both natural and spiritual. Created by Gaia to be the world's protectors, we were warriors fighting against the evils of the worm. And in our earliest form of this, we did so in the hearts of man. To be blunt, we called human. Some decried it as genocide, and some still long for those days, but it would be a lie to say that we did anything but that. Don't think of it as too harsh. You guys ever hear of Deer Island?
Deer Island. That sounds
Deer
vaguely
what?
That sounds vaguely familiar for some reason.
Take an island, not too big, maybe a couple acres across, no predators around. A species, without being checked, will grow out of control and then suffer collapse. Within only a handful of generations, this isolated bit of land filled with nothing but deer and lichen consumed until maybe only a handful of their kind were still there. And then, none. We
That is
took the best and the brightest. Is what? What are your thoughts on that?
That's dark, to say the least. But go on.
World of Darkness, as I sometimes call it. I don't like the term very often. I think it's more gray, but World of Gray doesn't sound very appealing.
I mean, like gray is like a dark shade, I guess. Like you know exactly where gray stand out in a crowd.
We called it the Impergium. Every tribe of werewolf has its own explanation for that, but what we do agree on, and that's as rare as it is these days, we were perhaps a little too aggressive. We did so for thousands of years, often calling the weak, the injured. We would suffer them no sickness, and we would take from the best of them and put them into our ranks. Then it all went weird. We forced them into civilization. Some of us actually say we did that intentionally. We forced them into settlements, to culture, to agriculture. But as a side effect, that led to Weaver influences. I happen to think personally that might not have been the worst thing for them, giving them culture security walls. But the problem happened when they learned about Silver. Have you had the pleasure of meeting Silver yet?
No, but I know it's bad.
I mean, that might have been in the drug stuff that Misha gave us, but we kind of passed out before he could explain that.
They learned about Silver. I could shoot you right now. I could shoot him right now in the head and he'd probably survive, as long as it's not made of silver. But that was a problem. So all 16 tribes, yes, 16 at the time we met, we called it the Concord. Some felt that the humans were justified in their anger. After all, we had been culling them, forcing them to be little more than our prey for thousands, tens of thousands of years. Others felt they deserved to be slaughtered. They carried with them the taint of the Weaver and the worm. We discussed, and when I use the word discussed, I mean actually fought, for months, but we eventually reached an agreement, the Concord. We would leave humanity alone, retreat from a large presence, and try to guide them from the shadows. We would not kill with impunity, but instead maintain our group separate. We'd still try to take their best, their brightest, but would not directly guide forward. This as the end of the Impergium. But our presence still lingers. You ever go and talk to a normal human in your Krynos form, and they get all scared, ancient memories stir up. But shortly after that agreement, we made rules, 13 of them. Here's the fun part. There's a test. The test is which ones he screwed up on, and she motions to Misha.
Oh.
Misha crosses his arms, and then after a cough, I didn't break a single rule. And then she looks back and was like, well, I see you could argue that, but I'm going to let them argue it. 13 rules. First one of the litany. Garou shall not mate with a Garou. What do you guys think of when you hear that?
Connor scrunches his face up and he's like, that's a weird way to phrase it, but does that mean no, what's the polite term? No getting
Like a wow
together.
wow.
No getting together.
Okay. Any guesses why?
No.
You ever...
Just, nah, never mind, not saying that.
No, say it.
Oh, I think that's our character not saying that.
Fair.
Just...
Same reason, well, two mules can't produce anything. It creates a sort of violation. It creates what we call a metis or a metis, depending on how you want to call it. And they're not right. They have deformities, sometimes insanities, and they come out of the womb kicking and screaming for several years as a Krynos. Every day as a Krynos.
Jesus.
It's not fun. Though, this is where the litany gets interesting. The rule is thou shalt not have Garou mate with another Garou. That's kind of vague. Can get into some interesting mindsets, and some want to, well, take it in ways that it shouldn't go. Not going to even touch that. If two Garou mate and they don't produce a metis, is that okay? Is the act the violation, or is the result? Depends who you talk to. World of Grayness. Number 2. Combat the worm wherever it dwells and wherever it breeds. What does that mean to you guys?
I guess someone who wrote that was a fish spirit.
Oh my fucking god. Worm. Evil bad guy. Wants to kill all of us. Kind of sounds a little bit silly. Maybe even a little Captain Planet-y. But you've ran into those creatures. They didn't ask a lot of questions. It's a dog-eat-dog world. I think you would do well to eat them first.
Yeah.
The worm, W-Y-R-M, like the old English word. Yep.
You got it. With that said, things aren't so simple. Vampires typically smell foul, smell gross, but not all of them. If a vampire, maybe even the one you found last night, does not smell of the worm, does that make it something you should kill? I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I do, but I like to keep it vague. 3. Respect the territory of another. When one werewolf approaches another territory, they must announce themselves first. Usually involves a howl, but something as simple as your name, what you believe in, your sept, totem, tribe. Shadow Lords, like Misha over here, can talk your ears off for hours with they're the grandson of grandson of grandson, and at this point I usually just walk away and go for a smoke. Any questions?
So whenever we meet, go to another Garou's territory, we have to address them and announce our everything, basically.
Eventually you'll get a fun little deed name in addition to your tribes, and you announce yourself. This is who I am.
So is that
a shallow tracks that's the DP?
That would be the Galliard, yes.
so that's a deed name?
Mm-hmm. Usually they depend on great deeds. I know a couple down south. One was called Strikes and Threes because he would always attack with 3 strikes. 1, 2, 3. Knew a Lupus who had some issues with technology who called herself Rage Against Machines. She didn't get the joke until quite some time later. My daughter. Hmm?
Yeah. I guess they were killing in the name of Gaia.
I don't think she likes the nicknames very much, but she's not going to argue with the spirits that have given her that. My daughter is named Sparks the Storm because she was born under a violent electrical storm. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Might be as simple as just you think something is cool. I've heard of a bone gnawer by the name of Roadkill, which is a great name if you ask me.
Wow.
Did he like kill someone on a road?
He wasn't Arun.
Did he get hit by a car?
My daughter told me this story. I believe it was during his rite of passage. He rode on top of a car spirit and rammed it into a bane the size of a house.
Did you say car spirit?
Car spirit.
Is this like Christine or?
Oh, I should have been a den mother. Seijun,
Yes,
stand up.
I stand up.
If I were to walk over there and she reaches into her pocket and stick this knife into your throat, what would be your first reaction?
My first reaction would be to back off.
Excellent. Exactly the answer. And I, being bound by the litany, if I was a good and peaceful werewolf, would respect that. Accept an honorable surrender. We are a tribe, a nation of warriors, and we often settle our grievances with bloodshed. But when one is down, or one simply just doesn't want to fight, a werewolf often raises their neck, exposing their throat. And to do so, I would actually argue, is more respectful than giving your life for silly pride. She retrieves her blade into her pocket. You may sit down.
I sit down.
She walks away. In practice, this is always a little bit fuzzy. Sometimes we let our anger get the better of us, the heat of the battle. Others, well, they have accidents, though too many accidents tends to be noticed. Here's the other thing. We have several ranks. At the lowest, the worms beneath our paws are the cubs. Above that, the Cleoth, the Fosterin, the Adrians, the Arthros, and then finally the Elders. It's a hierarchy, if you will. On average, we don't live very long as a species, but for those of us that survive, we have a very strict hierarchy of leadership. Someone that has lived several decades is looked upon with awe and respect. Submit to those of higher station. The reality is, elders often see things one way, sometimes before even technology existed. Sometimes they get blinded by what has kept them alive for so long that what they see as right or correct or will ensure survival isn't the best decision. The world of Grayness. Any questions?
So there's a hierarchy, and it seems pretty strict, but there's also some pushback, is what I'm getting from this. There's disagreements, I suppose.
Always disagreements. Since the moment at the beginning, there's
Is
always
this
been.
is this like a elder vote counts as 1.5, but like Cleo counts as 1, or like is it always obey elders, or can like the young ever outnumber a elder in terms of a vote, or
Survive, and you might find that answer to be different as the years go on. With that said, honor thy elders, but respect your own opinions. I might be wrong. He might be wrong. She points to Misha. He might have your best intentions at heart, and you might disagree with him, but always show him at least a basic level of respect. And where the grayness exists, make a point as if it was battle. She grins a little bit if it's trying to allude to something, but doesn't give it away quite yet. Halfway done. The first share of the kill for the Grayness Station. Basically, always share the spoils of war with the other Garou first. You come back with a fetish, it typically goes to the leader first. With that said, a good leader is going to realize that you should honor the efforts of those on your team. Pretty simple, though. Now the fun ones.
So
Please.
say hoarding everything isn't going to be seen in a good light.
If you go kill one of the spirals and they have a well, let's just say they have bazooka. Happens from time to time. You want to have that bazooka. I want a bazooka. Everyone wants a bazooka. The quartermaster of the set might say, you know what? We might want to give that bazooka to the kinfolk, because they can't turn into a 10-foot tall war machine. Quartermaster rules. Greatest share of the kill, greatest in station.
You know, that's actually a fair point.
With that said, if you fought your tail off for a bazooka, killed a couple hundred people, some asshole comes up to you and says, this is mine now, I could see an argument where you'd be kind of pissed for it. World of Grayness. Now I get to the one that everyone always questions me on, because in the 25 years that I've been doing this, everyone always questions it. Do not eat the flesh of humans.
Ugh. I
What?
wasn't planning to, but okay.
I must say, I mean, like, some of the people here are attractive. I could have seen that first one, but this one is like, why would I do that?
Connor, didn't you chew the spine of something?
I didn't
in
eat
this-
him. I just ripped his spinal, his like nervous, his. Ah, I
Fair,
ripped
fair.
part of his,
Yeah,
I
hard.
ripped part of his spinal cord out.
I'll say, didn't you eat a heart, say June?
No, wait, I didn't eat a heart. I just took it out.
Yeah, there was only taking out, no nomming.
That might be the most... Everyone always giggles at this. Basically, this is kind of a newer rule, but in general, humans consume a pretty terrible diet. Preservatives, chemicals, reality TV, and they're tainted by default. That level of taint, well, if you ate fast food all the time, it probably wouldn't do you very well either. With that said, there are some that feel it can give certain benefits to you, feasting upon the flesh of mortals. But those Garou are idiots. Don't eat humans. Understand?
Don't have to tell me twice.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not Hannibal Lecter.
So one thing I'm curious about is that if Garou are half human, half wolf, half spirit, why is there no rule about not eating the flesh of wolves?
The storyteller turns a little bit and looks straight at the camera and goes, there's always one. Every time. And that's my one fourth wall break that I'm allowed in this chronicle.
I had to.
I appreciate it. Always one. Everybody gets one. Miss Heather Rayner Argris just kind of grins a little bit. They always ask that. They always ask that. In general, most wolves don't watch the Kim Kardashian show. With that said, I wouldn't eat a wolf either. More than likely, it's someone's family or someone's kinfolk.
I just wordlessly nod.
It's a good question.
I mean, again, wasn't planning to eat them. They're endangered too, so I'm like, I'm not definitely not gonna eat them.
They like, I don't think we're the type who like goes around eating endangered animals.
There's some crazy ones out there. Wouldn't recommend eating, well, if you take boar as your totem, probably have individual bands, but we'll get to totems and spirits another day. This one is a fun one. Respect those beneath ye. All are of Gaia. We are the world's protectors, which means we must respect every creature's place in the natural world. Respect doesn't mean don't step on that ant hill and sing Kumbaya and become a vegetarian. It means act respectfully.
But how do you enforce that kind of rule? Do you just go around and say, "Oh, you were mean to that random homeless person"?
Well, it's not exactly the most easily enforceable rule, as some Chimotions Demisha only give respect where they feel it is deserved and proven. In his mindset, they are showing you respect by challenging you and encouraging you to be the best that you can. In Shallow Track's respect, well, he might think that Misha's insane and want to throw a guitar at his head. What's the answer? World of Grayness.
I'm starting to sense a pattern here.
Here's the fun one. If you pick one to listen to, which there is no exceptions to, it's this one. The veil shall not be lifted, which is code for don't fuck it up for the rest of us. Who do I want to pick on? Eeny, meeny, miny, Connor. Stand up.
You said me?
Connor.
I stood up.
Did you know about werewolves? I don't know, what was it, a week ago on Christmas?
Nope.
Did you know about vampires?
Nope.
Did you know about the frog spirit in the ground?
Nope.
Why was that?
I'm guessing because it's like those CW shows where you try to keep it a secret.
Because,
well, yeah,
as you said, if everyone knows a secret, it's not good for us. If the humans knew that the supernatural exists, and some of them do know, it probably wouldn't end too well for us. They'd probably start hunting us with a lot more reckless abandon. Basically, don't fuck it up for the rest of us.
Wait a second, though. Our first transformation, then, was a huge violation of that, then, wasn't it?
Yup.
But we had no control over that.
Yup.
And now a bunch of people are dead.
Quite a lot.
Are we gonna get in trouble for that, or?
This is where it gets interesting. Everybody gets one. Nobody can control their first nights. But if you make a habit of it, if you act recklessly, if you go out and start stabbing yourself with silver on a full moon and invite the veil to be broken, that's when people start getting antsy.
Was that a problem before?
You'd be surprised. The disease known as lycanthropy, the madness of the moon, often embraces the loonies. In fact, if you want to really go back to it, lycanthropy was often blamed as a reason for a moon madness and was used to shut down certain womanly feelings back in 14th century France during the earliest stages of feminism. But I'll spare you history. This is the most controversial one. Do not suffer thy people to tend to thy sickness. Remember how I said that we would call the weakest of the humans at the earliest time.
I don't like where this is going, but yes.
Well then, sometimes we get sick. Not often. A Garou probably... we don't get the cold, we don't get flu. I could set you on fire right now and you'd probably be fine in an hour or two. But we do, in the rarest of events, get old. You might live to be 120, 140 years old and no
Pretty
longer
good.
be able to run. In the olden times, we would look to ways to peaceful and mercifully end such a life. There's a story of a father Fenris wolf that would guard the gates between this world and the next world. Father wolf, not Fenris wolf. And with time, he let a lot of spirits in, and his sons had to honor this rule of not suffering the sickness of their aging father for letting all these bad spirits through. To this day, the children of these wolves, well, they're in conflict of if that was right or not, to honorably end one of the greatest heroes, or to do what is called upon us and not, well, suffer thy sickness.
Okay.
Fun little
So,
story.
so basically, when you get old, you start to become a liability, is what I'm getting here.
Effectively, yes. But it's only if you become a liability. You could be 150, and as long as you're kicking butt and taking names and have a sharp wit, no one's going to enforce this on you. But if you happen to lose the wolf, if you happen to be infirm or wounded and unable to fight, then we as wolves are suffering your sickness. I've heard of stories where this has been used very creatively, where stupidity has been called suffering thy sickness, and that, well, certain individuals should not suffer it. I heard one very famous case, this one actually made me raise my brows up, where a galliard took a mate, and he was challenged by an Arun Metis, excuse me, not an Arun Metis, an Arun who had his voice box ripped out by Silver a couple months earlier. The galliard, being challenged for his wonderful mate, gets to pick the contest. And he picked singing, to the mute Arun's, well, annoyance. The Master of Challenge said this wasn't fair. After all, it was not a sporting contest because the Arun could not sing without a voice. But the galliard, in his wit, said that why should I suffer thy sickness? Why should I weaken myself and my greatest talent to sing when he who is wounded cannot do so? It was quite an interesting debate. The end result, that galliard beat the crap out of that Arun. Good compromise.
I mean, sorry, go ahead. Never mind.
You might be noticing at this point that we're kind of a brutal culture, that we're kind of assholes, and that might be true, but I can promise you.
I could have figured that with Misha.
I can promise you, if you ever get into a fight, if you are ever challenged, and if you win, if you lose, if you draw, you'll respect your opponent. You might not agree with the results, but as long as you fight honorably, and sometimes that doesn't happen.
Wait, please tell me though, at least that we're not still fighting over for like our partners though. That sounds very medieval.
There's not a lot of us left. Sometimes true love has to conquer all.
But it sounds like in that scenario, it's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, it seems wrong that Arun challenged him anyways, just to begin with.
My husband was... You're a Gita Fenris?
Yes.
He was a Gita Fenris. Fell in love. And the elder, after repeatedly saying no, 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 and no, well, I said, give me your best. I challenge you for this. And, well, a lot of blood was spilt. But you fight for what you believe in.
Well, from the story, I meant mostly specifically the story you were telling. So the Galliard had a wife and I assumed that they were happy together. What gave Arun the right to challenge that?
Freshly made. The Galliard's wife was a child of Gaia. He had actually taken this child of Gaia because, well, his real wife had died recently in battle. The Galliard was a Fianna, one of the best storytellers I've ever met. And the child of Gaia said, it's not right for a Fianna to take one of ours. We have a sense of purity in our blood. I think it's all crap, but some of them believe that, especially the Silverfangs, and they wish to keep that lineage pure. Again, I think it's crap. Misha here might not, others might believe it. You go talk to a Silverfang, they're going to be able to give you a parchment a mile long detailing their lineage.
So, but you're telling me that this person, this wife, didn't have a choice in the matter? What, was she ever consulted or something?
Typically we give them choices, but in some cases they don't. There's a story of a Fianna that upon the introduction of a Geta Fenris kinfolk in the area, sprinted across the Bawn as fast as he could, and the moment she stepped on the land, he said, I wish to take you as my mate.
That's...
Doesn't happen often. Usually at that point in time, a kinfolk is given a protector, someone to sort of agree or disagree, but sometimes we're barbaric. Usually that doesn't happen. Extremely rare, because for the kinfolk we have, we treat them special. But
would a silver knife castration be an appropriate response there?
for the Garou or the kinfolk?
Just whoever was being the jerk there.
Honestly, no.
Ah.
There aren't many of us. We're a dying breed. There's less and less each year. To see 3 first changes in a single night is extraordinary. Probably don't get that in a month. She looks a little remiss, but she continues. These two go together. The leader may be challenged at any time during peace, and the leader may not be challenged during wartime. What does that mean to you?
That
That means I get to
Yeah.
slap Misha during peace.
Are we just assuming that Misha's our leader right now? Because
He's not.
Oh, good.
He is a Adrian. Cleoth, Foster, and Adrian, and Thro. That is me. Rank 4.
So, you're the leader.
By default. Wasn't always this way. Very recently this way. Did they tell you about Devlin?
No, I don't think
Ooh.
so. Oh wait, was he the guy who like ran towards the border and died?
You've heard of Devlin.
I'm sorry, I haven't had much chance to review my notes recently.
Iskarian has a bit of a history. I might think we're cursed. I joined here probably about 6-8 months ago after the last Black Fury. She was tending this area and she met a violent end.
I see.
Typically, you're allowed 2 ranks, above or below the challenge. So, Cleath might be able to get away with challenging an Adrian. A Fosterin definitely cannot get away with challenging an Elder. As you can imagine, those 2 rules are often abused. After all, we have been at war with the worms since time eternal. It also can be abused as well on the other end by saying, well, if we're always at peace, do we even really, if we're always at war, does that mean the peace rule never applies? We can never have a challenge? And who actually is a leader at all? Is it just rank? Sometimes a Karen will be run by a Fosterin.
World of Grayness.
World of Grayness.
You're catching along. Hopefully you're taking notes. Last 2.
Seems like there's a 50 Shades of Grayness.
Yeah,
Oh my
don't bring that up.
Oh my god. No,
Hearing
not that movie.
hearing that name offends my ears.
You're a third, Miss Sabs?
I think that's what they said. I just got here.
I'm guessing you maybe were born closer to the new moon. You seem to have some trickster in you.
Probably something like that. I don't really keep track of the lunar calendars of 18 years ago. Wait, how old am I?
Never, ever ignore a Galliard. And never take a Ragabash seriously.
Alright, I think I'm 18.
Perfect.
Yeah, so 18 years ago.
Perfect. Never fight an Arun.
Huh.
Never disbelieve a Thurge. And my favorite, she says, standing up to her full height. Never lie to a Philodox. Moving on. Last one, actually. Take no action that causes a Karen to be violated. So, remember you guys talked to that frog?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did it feel like?
I mean, I've never seen a giant frog before.
It felt like it was kind of like reality as we know it was kind of like redefined.
It definitely felt like there was. It felt like. Yeah, it felt like it was a surreal feeling.
Wouldn't it suck?
Oh, wait.
Hmm?
Wait. So yesterday, the frog told everyone to look at my back. I think everyone forgot about it. Do you mind looking at my back right now?
We're in the middle of a lesson right now.
We might forget again. If you want to, say June.
Bring it up in character.
Yeah, Yeah, I think this might be a good time just in case. I don't know.
We might get thrown into another trap.
Something you want to share with the class?
Oh. So Seijin brings up story of the story of the frog and says that he's been marked by Luna. The frog said that he was marked by Luna.
Hmm. That's a little strange. How? Did you say anything else?
The frog said to look at my back.
Have you looked at your back yet?
No, not yet, and
Oh my god, I'm gonna kill
the
you.
others haven't looked at my back either.
Okay. So.
We got back to the place, but then we got drugged.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah, we got drugged.
Gaia,
Yeah.
save me. Okay, I'm gonna finish up here. I'm gonna give out my lesson plan, and then we'll look at what's wrong with the infection on your back.
Infection.
Last one. No action that causes a Karen to be violated. That lovely little area of pure earth blood, of wonderful mystical energy. This is what we fight for. Ley lines of goodness. That is where our totem spirits exist. And if you were to do something to violate that, either willingly or unwillingly, that is grievously punished. It might be as simple as walking up to the Karen with worm taint on you. Think of it as, well, walking in with muddy footprints from your, on your boots. It might be something as silly as not, as not targeting something that you know is going for the Karen, letting someone else do it. And it might be as simple as carelessness, having an enemy or even a potential enemy follow you back to the hidden Karen. Something as simple as that can be punished severely.
So, does that mean we need to like go through some cleansing ritual after different things? Because we didn't do that when we got back fighting those things.
You're probably okay around here, and Misha said he performed the ritual on you guys when you were sleeping. But we'll make sure going forward so that at least one of you knows how to do the ritual yourself.
All right.
Oh, so it's not as simple as taking a shower or a chemical shower, like when you get like those workplace OSHA violations you have to be aware of.
Think of it as a shower with birch.
I don't think my deodorant covers mystical worm taint.
Usually doesn't.
I brushed my teeth last night after I bit into a bunch of those things.
I still don't have a toothbrush.
Oh boy. So,
Where did you get a toothbrush?
well, I asked a couple questions to begin with. Did you agree with what Misha did?
No.
I took issue with it for sure, so I don't really agree with it, no.
Having understood the litany, do you think that maybe some of the things he did were a little bit fishy?
Yeah, I could see a few different things he broke.
Cool.
I suppose so, yeah. I just thought he
Sabs,
was
you're gonna
Yes.
prosecute him.
Oh yeah, I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Connor,
I mean,
you're gonna defend him.
But okay, but wait a second.
And SJ,
Yes.
you get to hear what they have to say and make a ruling.
actually, question:
So
would I still be able to go to college? Because I don't think I've ever heard of a werewolf lawyer.
That's a Philodox.
So wait, how
Hmm?
can I defend him when? I mean, I'm sure Garou do it differently, but how am I supposed to defend him when I'm clearly not impartial?
There might come a day when a packmate does something terrible, something you personally disagree with, and you're going to have to defend him, not because you want to, but because the bond of family cannot be broken.
But I'm not even an expert on human legality. How can I defend someone even if I know especially if I know that they did something wrong?
If you were to defend someone and their life was on the line, would you do it?
If they were threatened, yeah.
If their very existence depended on it, you would do it. Pretend for a moment that that is the case here, that something very bad will happen to Misha if you don't do a good job.
Alright, fine.
And to sweeten the pot a little bit, whatever side Seijun picks, well, they get a prize. I'll give you guys, what is it now, 11? What, 6 hours?
Oh, nice.
7 hours? Misha will talk with you, Connor. Shallow Tracks will work with you, Sabrina.
All right.
Alright.
Sound good?
Yes.
SJ, let's
Yes.
take a look at that infection.
Yeah, let's look.
Sure.
So you take off the shirt.
Yeah. Station takes off the shirt.
I get to show you a picture of what it is. It'll probably look a little bit like this. You can't see it, but I'll actually paste it to you in the Discord as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah. Our character, isn't that like the full moon symbol?
That's the Ragabash symbol, I think, out of
Ragabash
character.
symbol, yes.
Drag rush symbol. Oh, okay.
She looks at it, taps her finger on it, goes, huh. Interesting. Right underneath your neck, in between your shoulders. Mark of the moon. My daughter would probably love this. She'd be flying through pages. Probably find something about... She looks up. Shallow Tracks, come here. Shallow Tracks walks over, takes a look at it. They all study it. Even Misha just is kind of leaning over and going, huh. Yeah, that's probably it.
So just a mark and that's it.
Nope, it's probably something... Well, did you have this before you changed?
I have no clue.
So you never looked on your back and had this tattoo before, had this mark before? Just showed up one day, or has it been with you since birth?
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
So you never really looked at your back before?
Yeah, I probably never like really like thought of it much, I guess.
So I'm guessing that after you first changed, you got this. Not completely unheard of, but very, very curious. Marked by the moon. A lot of stories go by that. Curious. This combined with the fact that we don't know who your parents are and what tribe they were only adds to the mystery. She kind of shrugs a little bit. It's like, all right, you're going to come with me. I'm going to teach you what I'm looking for and what you should be looking for. Rest of you, 6 hours, 5 o'clock.
All right.
All right.
I'll find some paper and give you what I'll be using in the case, Connor.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I'll find some paper and give you what I'll be using in the case, Connor.
That. Yes. Do that.
All right, so out of character. This was a little bit pre-planned. They did a really good job of playing dumb on the litany. So this is a 5-6 hour downtime, and they actually are going to pitch their case. But I'm going to take a 5-minute break.
I was about to say, mind if I go get some water first?
Take a
Yeah, I'll be
5-minute
right
break.
back.
But
Yeah, I think
Alright.
I need some water too.
they're going to have an actual case here, and I have no idea how this is going to play out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Should be good.
So the storyteller did tell me something that I probably should know, and the other two don't know about it, and I have no idea what is going to happen. So, huh? Wait, what? What happened?
All right, I'm back. But
Well,
I don't think anybody else is. Well, we got one person.
I think one person DC right now, and she needs to reconnect.
Oh.
여수 밤바다 이 조명에 담긴.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because if I get a copyright strike, I'm blaming you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, never mind.
No, continue. You can continue.
Probably
It's not
should.
bad. You're a decent. You're a pretty good singer, actually.
Oh, I would like to think that I like keep the notes. I guess.
I remember actually, I think watching, I think it was Markiplier, where he just sang like a really bastardized version of that, and he's just like, and he had to fight a copyright strike or something.
I guess it's like a few seconds, so probably won't be.
I'm not even worried about it, and I saved this locally, so I don't really care too much. I heard a person.
All right.
Now we're all here, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sister was asking something.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
All right, roll call. Connor. No, Connor. So yeah, for those playing along at home, this is something that I had a brainstorm on, and I pitched to the group and saying, this is going to be a social PvP session, and if not, I can go forward with the plot, but this is sort of it's not so much a filler session, but it is a social PvP, and I have very little involvement in it, but there are fabulous prizes to whoever Sejun selects. And I don't know what's going to happen. This could end horribly. Someone could die. This is World of Darkness.
Wait. Oh, someone could die.
Yes, it's World of Darkness.
Oh, fair.
This is
Oh,
the only
God.
game. I had a game with another group where there was a moot, and welcome back. And in the middle of a moot, I had to roll dice for everyone in the moot for 2 rounds before it broke up of 4 on 4 pack combat. So, I don't know, like 16 people. That was not fun.
A
But
lot of people died.
nobody died. It was the Cubs in my first game, pre-Rite of Passage, versus another pack of Cubs, versus another pack of Cubs, versus a fourth pack of Cubs, versus the teachers in this sort of werewolf school game concept that I had, and it went on for 2 rounds.
That game.
Yeah.
Game.
The game with Akari, the game with Carsey, those guys. And for about 2 rounds, I had to roll dice for 16 people before one of the Silverfang leaders basically used a gift that says, everybody shut up, everybody stop. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Let's get a little bit of a chain and scenery here. Scroll up here. Little change of scenery. Cute little doggo.
No, this is going to be fun. Oh, we got 2 more viewers.
Yeah.
Hello, to new viewers.
Hello.
So, recap. Last night, we had some new Garou. They were, quote unquote, drugged, thrown into the bottom of a warehouse, had to fight some evil monsters known as Fomori, and then had a controversial encounter with a vampire that they eventually decided to slay. They were brought back the next morning, and were taught about the litany, the 13 rules of the werewolves. At the end of it, the Black Fury, explaining those rules, said, do you guys feel that your leader from last night, the wolf known as Misha, that sent you on that little journey, drugging you, throwing you to the bottom with these Fomori, were violate any of those rules? Sabrina said yes, she is our prosecutor. Connor is going to defend Misha. You are going to use, well, to the best of your knowledge, the rules of the litany. Normally a cub wouldn't do this, but we just hand waved off about 6 hours of you studying and learning and coming up with a plan for you guys to do this out of character at your own time. Everybody with me so far?
When could you check Discord?
Say that again?
Could you check Discord? I pinged you.
Check the thing you pinged me. What did you ping me?
Yeah, you have your uploads up instead of the dice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. Alright, fix that, because I wanted to bring the cute little wolf over.
Bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
With that said, we actually have an order as well. I have to find it. So,
Yeah, is that wolf's name in the picture Richard?
you know what? Sure, I like that name. It's a good name. It's a great name for a wolf. I got this off a free picture website. Here's how it's going to work. The judge is going to give an opening statement. That would be SJ. He's going to say what he's looking for, what he's scoring for, and what he's going to consider to be criteria for this sort of debate. Plaintiff team, Sabrina is going to go next. She's got a 5-minute time limit, which I will, in character, watch for.
I will probably not use that whole 5 minutes.
Cool. Defense team, Connor gets 5 minutes after that. After that, well, we're going to have Sabrina can have 15 minutes to make her case and speak to Misha directly. Cross-examination is then done by Connor. Then we're going to do up to 10 minutes with shallow tracks by Sabrina, then by Connor again, and then we have closing arguments, 10 on each side. If it gets boring, I will move things around. As a storyteller, I'll keep an eye on things, make sure nothing happens, interact where needed. But for the most part, I'm just role-playing as Misha where questions come up. This will be interesting. I've never actually done this before, but it is a social PvP event. With that, there are some prizes for the winner, but with that, Seijun, I leave the floor to your opening statement.
Okay, so do I go in character right now?
Want me to set the scene for you first? Will that help?
I hope it does because I guess I'm just gonna have to wing it.
You're fine. Whatever you're looking for, because you've actually done debate before, so you're kind of the expert here. So,
We have, but it's a while ago, back in school.
I don't think anyone is
No.
expecting anything too complex. The
Okay.
night goes on. You go off in your various corners, learn a little bit more about the litany. Misha works with you, Connor. You get a little bit close. He's nice to you, talks to you, encourages you. Doesn't ever apologize for what he did, though. Think of it as
What
a
is
little bit
his-
of bonding.
What is his What is he trying to explain himself?
He definitely says, you know what? If it weren't for me doing what I had to do, you'd still be practicing with shallow tracks, working on shifting up and down. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be able to move as fast as you can and use that little concept we call rage. I just made things a little bit faster because we don't have a lot of time, and we certainly don't have a lot of time for a mock trial. But it's an interesting learning concept. I'll play along.
For what it's worth, despite my own grievances with what happened, I will do my best.
Sabrina's working with Shallow Tracks, who knows quite a little bit about history and offers some suggestions. He's conflicted. He understands what Misha did, but he isn't exactly in an agreement with how it happened. And last but not least, well, Heather works with Seijun, letting him know that if he needs to speak up and say objection, he can allow, if someone does speak up and says objection, he can allow it or deny it, or if he wants, he can point out if someone's badgering, leading, or being too aggressive with a witness. But other than that, he is the judge in this case. The day carries on, hours roll on. At around 6 o'clock, someone puts up a small little podium right next to that fire. A couple of the kinfolk come out. They keep their distance away. There's maybe a half a dozen of them. Heather looks around. She debates removing them. Garou justice, but she likes the audience right here. Finally, Connor, Sabrina, Shallow Tracks, and Misha all come along, and we begin. Seijun, the floor is yours.
So I would like to preface that I am not a Photox. I am not even what they call a quiet yet, but I will be the judge for this mock trial today. So I'm mostly going to be looking at exactly what tenets of the litany that Misha may or may not have broken, and whether it could be argued if any of them were undeniably, unmistakably being broken. If there is a way in which that it could be interpreted that it was not broken, then I will probably rule in favor of the defense. But if the prosecution can successfully prove that they were unmistakably being broken, then I will rule in favor of the prosecution. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, yes.
No objections, Your Honor.
No objections.
Okay, so I believe the prosecution can begin to state their case.
All right, that's me, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sabrina walks forward. She has like some note cards she made out of some leftover paper around the area. All right. In ancient Greece, my mother's tribe, the Black Furies, would preside over the courts and outrulings of Athens after its own justice system had failed. These kindly ones brought in a century of progress and peace to the area and brought justice to those men who had for so long avoided it. Today, I continue that legacy and shall, through the testimonies of Misha and Shadowtracks, prove how my supposed mentor Misha broke 3 separate tenets of the litany in his supposed attempt to begin our training. In order of his sins, not only did he fail to combat the worm wherever it dwelled, he additionally went against the frog spirit's commands, failing to admit to a higher station, and disrespected those beneath him by placing me and my current pack in harm's way with little regard for our safety or ability. This sins of his shall be proven through the testimonies given by Misha and Shadowtracks, showing Misha's gross negligence and complete disregard for his orders and station as our trainer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your opening statement, Sabrina. And now I believe it's... Sorry?
Sorry, I just saw Law and Order flash across the screen.
Oh,
Jesus.
oh, okay. uh, okay, so now I believe it is time to make your opening statement. Connor, will you please?
Yes, my name is Connor. You know what? It's gonna come out eventually. My name is Connor Throckmorton. I am a Galliard, and I'm here to defend Misha to the best of my abilities to prove that there is reasonable doubt towards the accusations against him.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sure. So, Seijun takes one look at his notes, and so I believe we have a witness to examine at this moment right now. So Seijun points to Sabrina's direction. So, do you have any witnesses that you would like to bring up right now?
I believe Heather did say that we would be calling up Misha and Shadow Tracks both. I believe Misha was supposed to be brought up first for questioning. Is this correct?
That would be correct, yes.
All right. Permission to begin cross-examination. Oh wait, no, direct examination, Your Honor.
Permission granted.
Thank you. All right. Is Misha just setting up there?
Misha will stand up. He'll walk over. He'll bring a little footstool with him. Plop it down right next to the judge. He's smirking a little bit while this is going on.
Hmm.
And he sits.
All right. Would you please state your whole name for the court, sir?
You mean the birth name, the deed name? What are you looking for?
Both if you would.
Misha Karapik. Hamid Ragabash Shadowlord. Deeded straightens the spiral.
Yes. And would you please tell us, last night, which trial did you bring me and my pack through?
Excuse me?
Which trial did you bring me and my pack through?
When you mean trial, you mean the Fomore.
That would be the name for them, correct, sir?
Yes, the Fomore. I had 3 of them. A nice little basement area of a warehouse. And after I proceeded to offer you a drink, you proceeded to pass out. And then, as the totem spirit demanded of us, I got to work with gusto. I made sure that we didn't have a moment to lose, and your first trial was combat, which you, I will fully admit, exceeded my wildest expectations.
And you do mention that it was under the orders of the frog spirits, correct?
Not directly, but it is a Garou's job to teach the next generation.
What did the frog spirits order you to do?
Get you ready for your rite of passage in 2 weeks, which is an insane period of time, I will add.
Yes, but it was his order that we would be Garou within 2 weeks, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes. And may I ask, what sort of protections, if any, did you put on those body bags you placed us in?
What do you mean protections?
Well, as far as we saw down there, there was nothing holding those 3 Fomori back from us. What did you put to stop us from being attacked while we were still asleep?
Well, they were in cages that went up about the time you guys started talking to me on the mic.
All right. And how could you guarantee those cages would hold them?
I couldn't.
Additionally, how did you get the dosage for that drug you gave us?
Trade secret. That I will not be sharing with you. I can plead the 5th on that one.
So you'd say it would incriminate you further as breaking the litany if you revealed it.
Somebody wanted to be a lawyer when they grew up. You know, you still can change your auspice if you really don't feel like you are a Thurge.
Additionally, you are a Thurge as well, is this true?
Born and raised.
And the Thurge's job is to be an embassy to the spirits, is this right?
Objection, relevance.
If he is as a Thurge an embassy to the spirits, this would make him a representative of the spirits. Thus, the spirits would be above him in the command, meaning that it could be said later on that if we could prove that he had threatened our lives, that he would be against the commands of the Frog Spirit to make sure we were Garou within 2 weeks.
Is there a point to this?
Yes.
Objection relevance.
Wait, are you objecting to Misha?
I'm objecting to the to your
Oh.
query. Out of character, I'm objecting to your query, Sabrina.
One of the charges is that he directly went against the orders of a superior. So if as a third she is supposed to be the emissary of the spirits, then it would make the spirit his superior in this list.
Retraction.
Objection overruled.
That is correct. Overruled is against the objection. Sustained is
Right.
not
Yeah.
kept. Yeah. But is that correct, Misha?
Can you restate the question?
That as a third, your job is to be an embassy to the spirits.
That's a fancy way of putting it, but I think that's pretty accurate.
Which would then put the frog spirit as your superior as you act as his emissary.
Superior is an interesting word. Superior implies lead, follower. There is a two-way street here, but you're not in the wrong direction.
Yes. And so could it be said that as you placed us in a scenario where we could have died if something broke that cage or the dosage which is too high, we would have been unable to become Garou in 2 weeks, correct?
I suppose that is correct, but if something as weak as a common everyday Fomori were to eliminate you, it could very easily be argued that you shouldn't be a Garou.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Could you have proved any of us had combat experience or the abilities to defend ourselves with combat experience against
Well,
something?
You were pretty good that night at the bar.
I
Would you
believe.
disagree with that?
Would you disagree that a bar full of innocent people and 3 Fomori in a darkened area are 2 completely different scenarios?
Depends on how you ask. The Fianna might disagree.
Very funny, sir.
Why? Am I annoying you? Am I upsetting you?
Not at all, sir.
Hmm.
I choose not to be upset with people low as you.
Objection
Withdrawn.
relevance.
Sustained.
I withdrew the statement anyway.
Hey, Sabrina,
Yes.
roll your frenzy.
Oh, no.
That's just rage, right?
Roll your rage. Diff 7.
7.
I think you got in your nerves a little bit. Oh,
Oh,
right. I didn't tell you that. Don't go too hard on them.
Yeah.
They might have rage rolls.
Alright.
No
0
successes. You feel a little bit of a slight, a little bit of stress as he remarks about the bar, but it's nothing you can't swallow down. It's a slight you can take.
Can I have Seijun roll raise as well?
Yeah, can I do that too? Because
I love
I'm
it
gonna-
when people
gonna-
violate the first roll and they choose to roll for rage. Please roll for rage.
Is this
I don't
counting
have
against my time?
No.
Alright, just double checking.
you don't want me to, I won't.
Roll for rage, please. If it upsets you, honestly, you're
upsets
annoyed.
Connor.
Roll
It upsets
rage.
Connor. Yeah.
Highly encourage that.
Tool modifier 0, right? And, yeah.
Difficulty
7. It is a third moon. Unless you're Sabrina, and then it's 6, because it is her moon. I should have said that. I will say that next time. It wouldn't have mattered in the roll anyways.
0 successes.
Alright.
0 successes.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0. No 10s at all. Sabrina, I'm going to say add 1 to your temp rage.
Alright. That can go above permanent, right?
It can go above permanent. When you roll rage, it is the higher of your permanent or temporary rage.
Got it.
And you can't kind of quick shift because that's abuse of it.
Yeah.
Continue.
So.
Alright.
So
Connor-
Seijun at.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Sabrina, please refrain from personal. should I say to this? I don't know. Okay, so anyway, please refrain from personally attacking the rest of us here.
I will reevaluate my decorum, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes. Though that is an interesting question on the idea, Mr. Misha. Could you guarantee that it would have been the Fomori that killed us in that area? How did you know none of us had any asthma or similar problems, or could have just suffocated in such a airtight body bag?
Because you're Garou. Garou do not have asthma, and if you were honestly to suffocate in a body bag, you probably would have frenzied the moment that your human body was endangered.
Yeah, so you would have forced us through a frenzy, correct?
Unlikely. It didn't happen, so this is kind of, you're playing what if games.
Additionally, all right, fine. Let's move on. The vampire that you found used as the last part of the trial. You said that you captured this, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. I believe your phrasing at the scene of the area was that you had known who she was and who she fed on. Is this correct?
Oh, I've been keeping a close eye on her for just the right moment to use this tool, and you're quite welcome that I gave up my meal ticket so that you could play.
Yes. And so you've been observing her for some time. How long would you say?
I've known about her whereabouts for about 2 months.
2 months. Almost 60 days, maybe a little more.
You can count. Congratulations.
Yes. And I believe later during that same conversation, you would invite you teach me the gift of sense worm, correct?
I am a generous soul, even if you do completely, well, flame and flail out of this. I will be more than happy to show some sympathetic offerings and teach you the gift.
So, does that mean then that for 60 days almost, you refused to fight the worm where it dwelled and let this creature you swore as a worm spirit continue its so-called reign of terror upon the city for its time? I'll say, how often does a vampire need to feed, I wonder? How many people did she kill or sicken with anemia or the like during this time period that you were observing her?
Well played. Well played. Well, let's see. If they need to feed maybe, I don't know, once or twice or 3 times a week, we'll go with 2. They're pretty boring. That would be, well, about 30, less than 30, more than 10. Somewhere between that.
Yes, so 30 people could have died or be granted anemia for the time.
Unlikely anemia, unlikely to die. Dying leaves evidence.
But it would have still been allowed to continue its so-called corruption on the world.
This is true. I was not looking for the little fish. I was looking for the big fish.
However, the ruling does not state that you fight the worm whenever it's convenient. It does say to fight the worm wherever it dwells.
This
So,
is true.
does it specify that only the larger fish should be held? And if you were able to observe it for 60 whole days, could you not have taken a few minutes in your great so-called skill to kill this creature if it was so much a bother to you?
I mean, why would I take such an honor away from yourself and your friends?
Well, as far as I'm aware, we have only been Garou for 2 days. Is that so?
Not really 2 days. I'd say about maybe 29 hours, give or take.
So 29 hours versus 60 days. What were you waiting for then for the rest of that almost 57 days?
I was waiting to see if she knew anything about the wall.
The wall has only been up for about 2 weeks. That still holds in several more weeks.
You have a very good memory. This is true. But as long as they're not doing active damage, as long as they're not causing true harm,
Once more, does
there's
the statement say wherever the worm causes harm or wherever the worm dwells?
Objection interrupting the witness.
I don't think that's an objection. I
it's
think
it's Garou. It's not human laws. It's whatever SJ wants.
Objection sustained. Let the witness continue.
There's some snickers, especially from the kinfolk in the back. Heather's grinning like a fool, possibly at the whole scene. Even Shallow Tracks just has a grin ear to ear, and if any of the Cubs take a look at any of them, they give a nodding smile. This might be one part show to them, but the fact that you're taking it so seriously is encouraging. Misha kind of shrugs a little bit. His smile's up there as well. Honestly, how do you know she's of the worm? You don't have the gift.
I don't. However, I believe you described her as such, as you said all of them were of the worm, even if they did not show it.
Good memory. But is it really that straightforward? Do you know? Or are you just trying to pin me in something?
I'll say, how could you know that she would not accidentally kill someone in that time? How do you know that someone wouldn't get sick with anemia or the like?
Well, Garou can't get sick of blood
Was she only
diseases.
feeding off Garou?
No. That's
So you would have let innocent people get injured with anemia for failing to fight the worm.
If it means training you and
Once
your
more, you
friends,
admitted that you
I
had not
do.
known about this vampire in the time that for most of the time we have been Garou. Or could it be that you were just holding off on giving to this kindred or vampire their death until that point where you could just force that terrible fate on some new recruit?
I mean, we don't get recruits quite often, and since the wall went up, well, didn't think we'd be getting more anyways.
That wall, which has only been up 2 weeks of about the 8 to 9 you would have known her.
Fair point. Fair point. Can I ask you a little question?
I believe that I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions.
Is this true?
Yes, check on the time.
I think you got like 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yes. May I ask, you told us that this similar trial had been placed on you before.
You mean in the basement, alone with the Flamore?
Correct?
It's a Shadow Lord tradition.
A Shadow Lord tradition. So, are any of us Shadow Lords?
You might be. You might be. Have you heard the call of Grandfather Thunder? I'm sure we'd consider you.
I don't feel any sort of call to your sorts.
You'd make a great granddaughter of Thunder. You have the fire, you have the energy, you definitely have the spitting wit.
How did you describe this trial to us then?
How did I describe it to you?
Yes.
What do you mean?
I believe you phrased it as the trial that you hated, correct?
I mean, there's monsters coming left and right, and you have to put up or shut up.
This is correct, but I believe you said that it unlocked your rage as well.
It tends to unlock individuals' rage for the simple reason that you hate the fact that you're in this situation. You're scared because there's monsters left and right, and you might die. You very, very, very much might die. But with that said, learning by fire is perhaps the greatest way to grow.
So why then not bring us down there as part of the trial? Why not give us a warning ahead of time that such things were going to happen?
Well, the way it works is if you didn't just point blank drink the poison, if you maybe smelled it, maybe, hesitated a little bit, you would have been offered the chance to go down on your own 2 feet. But it's all part of the left baby doll.
So the first part of your trial test then involves in disrespecting our autonomy and breaking the trust that we hold with you, as you had been one of the only people there helping us so far. And once you had broken this trust and respect that we had hold for you, you then throw us to a possible death at the hands of the Fomori.
I did say you would hate me, baby doll. But with that said, you are a cub. You don't
Can I roll
exactly
rage
know
for
that.
him calling me
Oh,
baby doll?
please roll it. 3 dice, diff 7. It's not going to kill you, is it?
Probably not. Okay. Botch on the.
Pure botch.
Watch.
Oh, wait, that was. I only rolled 2 dice though for some reason.
I'm going
Yeah,
to
you
take
need
that.
to roll one more.
I'm going to take that result. Add another rage.
All right. Well,
You're up to 4, am I correct?
yes.
And the difficulty on your moon drops by 1. So it's difficulty 6. 4 dice. 4 dice is the magic number. So 25 or 12.5% chance of you getting 4 dice on your next rage roll. Just a thought. Just a thought.
All right.
Oh boy.
Hey, I just need to roll rage there.
You can't. It's a reflexive roll, so 1s don't count. I'm going to say a bot gives you a temp point. I'm going to say 10s give you a temp point. That's kind of an unofficial house roll.
All right.
I'm subjective on that roll.
All right. So, you do admit then that you broke our trust. Is this correct?
I mean, the trust of 24 hours, yes, but the ends
It-
justify the means, do they not?
The ends don't justify the means in terms of law. And as you did say, it was only a trust of 24 hours. However, I believe we had only known we were Garou for 24 hours, and you were one of the only people we could trust because of it.
If we were attacked by, Black Spiral Dancers on the way home, would you be faulting me for not showing you probably our greatest of gifts sooner? Not faulting
I believe you
if
hadn't
will.
even explained what a Black Spiral Dancer was.
Don't think I have either, but I think you kind of
Yes.
figured it out.
So you have not even granted us the basic understanding of what the Garou culture was, or the history, or the threats we face, before you decide to throw us to the figurative and literal worm.
I prefer the term throw you to the wolves because that seems to be a little bit more accurate, but as they say in combat martial arts, protect yourself at all times. I'm just teaching you how to keep your hands up.
Yes, it might surprise you, but I actually did HEMA for some years before this change, and while it is true we are supposed to protect ourselves at all times, I don't believe on my first day at the HEMA learning area that I was just thrown a sword and then swung at repeatedly by 3 people.
You're what, 7'1", 7'2", 7'4"?
6'9".
6'9", sure, great. I'm gonna go with maybe 6'10", but I'll get your measurements later. I'm gonna take a guess that when you were fighting, it might not have been, you might not have had to have put your hands up as much. Maybe you were the one doing intimidating.
Yes, however, I never fought with someone who had absolutely no training, and I made sure that they had a basic understanding of how to fight, what they were facing, and the sort of techniques that needed to go into it.
3 minutes. Well, you did pretty good. I will say that. You threw a real nice hook. You changed just fine. And to be honest, The end result is what I wanted. I have no sympathy and no regrets for what happened because what I wanted to happen out of it did. And you might not like the means, you might not like the ends, but one day when you're facing down a monster, when the worm itself has its jaws at your throat, you might be able to get angry and move just a little bit faster. And you know what? It might save your life, and you might thank me.
Well, as we said, I don't believe the ends justify the means with any sort of laws. I believe if people start having several Metis children to stalk an army, it would still be considered breaking the litany.
I would agree with that.
So would it not then be still breaking the litany to disrespect the respect of those below you in order to try and make them better?
If it was done with malice intent, I could see your point.
Does it require malice intent for still be breaking the law?
I'm no Philodox. Wasn't born that close. But I think intent is what, 2/3 of the law?
Possession.
Never was a good Philodox.
Yes, I can tell, especially by your misunderstanding of the law.
Objection.
Withdrawn.
Connor, that's on you. Roll a rage.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
That's just a number 4, and I
Is
did
that
it
me
wrong.
too?
Diff 7.
Or is it good?
That's a 2. That's a
Did you say Diff 7?
diff 7. It's not your moon.
Oh no.
One success,
success.
no 10s. You're fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no on Sabrina.
Alright. The withdrawn really got him mad.
He sneers, he groans. He's like, anything else, or are we done here?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Connor.
I'm laughing out of character just to be clear. Anyways, I step up, and I say, so, Misha, you say that this is a Shadow Lord tradition, what you subjected us to. Is this correct?
Yeah, I would say that's correct. You're not gonna find it in any books, but I've seen it done a couple times.
So, has any Shadow Lord who's done this ever been brought before an official, not even a mock court, an official hearing about this treatment?
If you were to propose something like this in a Shadow Lord sept, the fact that cubs would be putting their elders on trial for their training methods, you would be laughed out of the court.
But what I mean is, have any, for example, other Elder Shadow Lords addressed this and say, no, you can't do that?
On the contrary, I would say that they quite enjoy the show. They encourage it even.
I am no expert at the law yet. After all, I, like my counterpart Sabrina, am young, but isn't there something about precedent with law?
There is.
Then one might argue that there is precedent for this sort of loose interpretation of this kind of trial, where the conflict with the litany isn't quite as clear.
I would say in this crazy mixed up world of wolves and beasts, tradition is as important as any law.
See. So, the charge against you, let's start with failing to fight the worm where it dwells. So, one might argue that you were eventually going to deal with this vampire and these Fomori, and given your experience compared to us, you would have probably had an easier time dealing with them when you decided to, correct?
I would say that is correct. The term combat is as subjective as any.
Clarify.
The term combat is as subjective as any in that I mean, the Fomore were under lock and key for a couple days at least. The vampire was in my sights for quite a long period of time. I could see what she was doing. I could see where she was going. I kept tabs on her. And the leads that she gave me certainly will help combat that far greater than just executing her.
So, one could say then, perhaps, that you were taking the long view in holding these.
Objection, leading the witness.
Objection sustained.
Very well.
One could say that I could take the long view here, because I'm not leading, I'm saying it myself, that I was thinking of how best to deal with this, with the crisis we have on hand of none of us being able to leave the state.
So, thinking of it as sort of a greater good, sort of thing.
I mean, we do try to think of the long game. If
Do you believe that at any point during this that you were doing anything wrong? At any point, not even a single doubt.
let's see, teaching 3 indignant cubs how to use the powers that the moon gave them to act as they should, faster, stronger, better, and showing them first-hand combat experience, something some cubs don't get for months, weeks, years, who knows. On their very second night, I would consider to be a blessing from the mother itself. You should be so honored to know that I would go to such means to give you a training exercise so soon, not even a day, after you've learned how to shift and change.
So to your mind, it was just a training exercise. There was no greater danger by the worm.
You guys need to stretch your legs a little bit, run around. You're 10 feet of muscle and fury. You think those little things are going to bother you? And even if the chance that they did, well, I had eyes in the shadow. I would have stepped in if things got really bad.
So you were monitoring us.
I was. Always monitoring you guys.
Clarify, was there a camera or was it just audio?
Trade secret.
I actually glance at Sejun.
Do you have anything to ask right now?
Just if we should press that, Misha, I would like to know how you were monitoring us. It may be important.
Judge,
Yes.
your call.
I am not quite convinced as to how, if this is relevant at the moment, so I will be dropping. I think it will be best to drop this.
Thank you,
Very well.
Your Honor.
Very well. All right. Let's see. So to address the other point about you knowing ahead of time that there were beings of the worm in hiding, Sabrina mentioned that you were going to teach us the gift of sense worm, so you definitely knew not only about the Fomori, but also this vampire.
Definitely know about the Fomori. They're pretty easy to find once you start to see some of them acting up. In fact, on your very first night into this world, happy birthday, I was tracking 3 that I believe tripped one of you, and I was planning on rounding them up, though you did quite a great job of that for me. Kudos. As for the vampire, I had tracks on her for a while. For a little bit, I wasn't sure if she was or wasn't really one of them. Found out about the blood. Not too many around here these days. They don't like the cold, I'm guessing. Who knows? But I was hoping to fish more of them out. And, well, I got a lead or two. That's all I need. But when it comes time to actual combat, you guys can use all the practice you can get.
And I want to go over the wording from your perspective of that part of the litany. Combat the worm wherever it dwells and wherever it breeds. That doesn't mention a time limit.
It does not.
So, in that regard, were you acting on that assumption?
I was acting on that to combat something, you necessarily don't step on the problem right away. Sometimes you have to follow an ant back to its nest to get rid of the queen.
Very well. We shall address the next item on the list. The next item on the list being the accusation that you, Misha, disrespected the frog spirit's orders. What is your... No, let me rephrase that. What did... We were all there, but just for the sake of form, what did the frog spirit say to you?
Holds his fingers out wide and tapping them back and forth if there's an invisible drum set to his left and right. Let's see. Cubs blessed by Luna. 2 weeks to go through rite of passage. Something about a scar. I can get them trained is what I remember telling them with confidence. I said that.
But the frog spirit didn't specify in what way to train us.
They did not. There is some standards to expect on the rite of passage, and each tribe has their own little methods and understanding. Heather was up north, speaking with the elder of the White Mountain Sept. So, in her absence, as one of the leading ranking Garou at the time, I acted as I felt I should.
So again, you think that the frog's orders left a lot of room for interpretation.
The frog probably doesn't care how it happens. It probably doesn't care at all because it's sleeping. But with that said, if it looked at what I had done and saw the results, 3 Garou can shapeshift, fight, and use their strength of rage in combat after a single day, I think I'd get a gold star.
So, you throwing us to that trial, that interpretation, you seem adamant about this, correct?
I mean, I could give or take it. I could have done it without the vampire if I really wanted to, but I think it was a good experience for you.
Now, I want to delve deeper into the question of the ranking of between you and this spirit, because I want to address Sabrina's point. Is the frog spirit your superior, so to speak?
Oh, that's a complex question. So, you guys don't know very much about packs, but typically Garou form packs, and they follow a totem spirit. And it's more of a partnership than us following directly. We offer our chiminage, our spiritual essence, our devotion, and in turn they offer their blessings back towards us. For a sept totem, it's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more mainstream for that, but is it a strict sort of servant master standpoint, as extreme as that is, as un-PC as that is? I don't believe so.
And Sabrina's further point that you, as a Thayers, are kind of an emissary to the spirit world. You do not think that you acted with any presumption on the part of, like, as your relation to the frog spirit.
Presumption as in ill intent?
I suppose so. Acting without regard for what the spirit wants. Do you believe that you have? You don't believe that you have acted out of disregard for what the frog wanted.
Yes. As a Galliard, you should know it's not about the story as it happened. It's about the story as you tell it. And if you were to go yourself and walk up to our good friend Kermit, not too far away from here, and tell him the story, it's all about how you spin it. You could tell them that the mean old Shadow Lord came out and drugged a bunch of cubs, stuffed them in a basement, had them fight Fomori and a vampire to the death, and through the skin of their teeth they survived. And that he's a
Objection
terrible
relevant.
person. Or looks at SJ, Seijun.
Looks back.
Can I continue?
Oh,
Sabrina objected.
Hmm.
oh, Sabrina objective right now.
Relevance.
It's a pretty relevant remark.
I believe, though, that's the state of the law does not matter why it was broken, but how it was broken.
To be fair, among us Garou, you're using tools that are more of the world of man. It all comes down to if SJ wants to accept that or not.
Objection overruled.
Thank you. She did have a success here because she did ruin my mojo and make me forget about what I wanted to say. But the other way you could tell the story is the heroic Shadow Lord captured a bunch of Fomori, was able to trick a shady vampire, and then proved to the world that these young cubs are more than meets the eye. They are worthy of their mettle, and they can go toe to toe within a single day at some of the worst adversaries of the world, and by proving them to be unique and special, he has granted them early honor and respect.
Excuse me while I collect my thoughts. I suppose we shall move on to the next point then of questioning. The third point that
4 minutes, by the way.
all right, that you supposedly failed to respect those beneath you. Real quick, as cubs, we're supposedly not even part of the Garou
Objection
Nation.
leading the witness.
Objection sustained.
Hmm.
In what way do you think that you respected us within you? Like, do you believe that you were respecting us in the proper way?
Like I said earlier, most cubs don't get the opportunities you do for combat within 24 hours. That is a great honor and show of respect that you would know that I believe in you so much, that I trust that you would be so adamant and skillful to be good at combat within a single stay time with no real preparation. That's a real trust on my behalf for you, and I think you've passed with flying colors.
So you trust. So in this way, you think that you were respecting us.
Absolutely.
I see.
And in all honesty, you did absolutely fine. You did incredible, and the results speak for themselves. If I didn't have that trust in you, I certainly would never have put you into that situation. And there's a great honor in getting your first kill, a wonderful thrill, a moment that we're sharing together that you'll never forget. I don't forget my first kill. And to be perfectly honest, with the little time that we have to skip upon pleasantries such as a mock trial, I think is a grand blessing and honestly quite intelligent of whoever decided to stop, well, hot footing around.
Objection,
No,
speculation.
Objection sustained.
No further questions.
I'm free. He walks out. He's practically sort of, well, he's got a grin. He leaves the stool. The next one, Galliard, Jonathan Shalatrax Rossiti, walks over. He's got a cigarette between his lips. He's giving the simple smoke. Tobacco, maybe a Camel, maybe Marlboro. It's a shitty cheap brand. Drops it. Drops the butt. Snuffs it out. Leans forward like he's about to tell a story in front of a fire. Alright, let's do this.
Okay, so prosecution, you may begin examining the witness.
Oh wait, we're doing prosecution first.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Sorry. All right, Mr. All right. Will you please state your full name for the court?
Birth name, real name,
Both.
Jonathan Rossini, Galliard, Stargazer, deeded Shallow Tracks.
All right. You are a Galliard, you said.
Gibbous Moon, born and raised.
Storytellers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Objection relevant.
Getting to that, you're on.
Okay.
Getting to that, sir.
Very well. I retract.
So, tell me, you must know a lot about the Fomori and the different creatures of the Garou threats, correct?
Yeah, and I can tell you some stories.
What would you say is the strongest Fomori you've ever heard of?
There was one that just wouldn't die a couple of years ago. Just, you had to put nails in its eyes and bury it, but it might have been possessed by a bane. Hard to tell.
Couldn't die. And have you ever met any that would be strong enough to rip open a cage?
Yeah, a couple.
Are there any ways you tell these mutations before fighting it?
Oh, well, if you capture one, and you look at them, yeah, you probably could figure it out.
And were you there when Misha captured the 3 Fomori he used in his experiment?
I would say definitely.
Did he examine these for such mutations?
He spent some time looking at them, yeah.
Could he have told that they would be unable to be killed, that they might be able to rip open the cages they were placed in?
Well, he had them in the cage for at least a day or two beforehand, before you guys even got here. He was he was pretty good about sort of just checking on them, but I mean, it's not like he dissected them and figured it out beforehand.
You said that he was placed them in a cage a day or two before we even arrived.
Yeah.
What for?
You're gonna have to ask him that.
So you would say that he failed to fight them or destroy their influence in the world for no good reason then, if there was no no such test to be made.
Look at you being a storyteller. That's an interesting theory. He might have just been leaving them there to suffer.
True, but would you say that would be fighting the worm where it dwells if you're just making it suffer, if it's risking letting it gain back into the world, if they ever got out of that cage?
I guess that's a good point, yeah.
Additionally, say he could not tell, say he failed in his observations to tell that one cannot be killed, what would that have done then for the three of us trying to deal with it and running low on resources?
I mean, he was right outside, wanting to come in.
He was right outside, however, I believe the door was locked, correct?
Yeah, he might have been able to get in pretty quick though, and I don't know, it's a shadow lord thing. I mean, they can be pretty quick if you need them to be.
True, but has to get through a locked door where he drops the key in the night, and then he has to go through the warehouse and down into the cellar, correct?
Um, I mean, yeah, that's assuming he was outside the whole time. Yeah,
All right. How long would you say that would take?
I couldn't even guess for you.
30 seconds sound about right?
Yeah, I guess I'll take your word for it. You were there.
So, you as a expert, Garou, how long would you say most battles last then?
Well, that depends. Like you can go between, a couple blinks of the eye to, I don't know, maybe a minute.
So, longest battles are usually a minute, so almost half the time that it would have taken for, so almost double the time that would have taken him to get there. If we only realized it was indestructible later on, it might have been later into the battle, so we might have been on lost by the time he got there.
Uh, you wouldn't have been probably lost. You haven't suffered the sort of, well, a little bit of the rage before death, if you will. Something kicks out inside of you. It's like waking up from having a nightmare. It just snaps and you just see red. Usually that happens before the last bit does. You get one more chance.
But it would have been a possibility. Does Misha have any healing abilities?
He is a Thurge. They typically are the ones that have them, if any of them, but you're gonna have to ask him
So even you're not sure after being in his pack for a while.
that. I wouldn't say I've been in his pack. We're all a bunch of misfits up here, but that's a bigger story, especially what happened last month.
Now, you were at the meeting of the Frog Spirit, is this correct?
Yeah, you saw me.
Yes. Can you please tell us what it said?
Um, like in what way?
What was its prophecy?
It said that you three had to have your rite of passage within. Well, it said you had to be Garou in 2 weeks.
We had to become Garou in 2 weeks. So, we are not considered Garou until the point where we've completed our rite of passage, correct?
Yeah, you're not part of the nation really until you sort of go through that rite.
And I doubt it would have been possible to go through such a rite if we were to be killed or crippled during such a fight with the Fomori, correct?
Yeah, but there's risks in everything you do. You can't call you forever.
You told us that it had never been done before, that a pack had been so quickly done with the rite of passage, right?
I've never heard of a pack needing to have their rite of passage done in 2 weeks. I've heard a month. I've heard some rumors that down in NOLA they try to do it in a week, but I mean that seems crazy to me.
Yes. And so then, could you tell us how many Garou have died in training on a normal rite of passage training
I
routine?
uh you gotta realize that like the average lifespan of a Garou is about 2 years, less than that for some moons. Like in our rune, definitely less than 2 years. We live hard, we die young. So that's just the lifestyle. And to kind of quantify it in a way, to say if certain things happen, it's really a fault. It's not how we are. We don't have a lot of time, and if any of us can move quick, that's considered usually a good thing, but I get your point. You know, if we
Yes.
die so much, maybe we should be able to look quicker. I don't know. We should be
Well,
able to look quicker.
yes, and let me ask you, how many of those that do die during their rite of passage do so because within 24 hours of realizing they are Garou, they are thrown into pits of 3 Fomori and a vampire?
I could not even begin to answer that, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than I thought. I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than I thought.
But you still admit that it's a possibility that it's a much higher ratio.
Depends on the tribe. If it's a Geta Fenris, I bet you they throw you out even before you come down from the first high. If it's a child of Gaia, you might go for your rite of passage without, even getting your fur wet.
Yes. And also let me ask you then, what can you tell us about vampires? Misha seemed to like to claim that they might not be of the worm at points, correct?
I've heard some stories. I don't know a lot about them. I know they got some high clans and some low clans. I guess that's what they call them. Where some of them are like hidey tidy up on their like ebony towers. Is it? I don't know what it is. But then you get the lower ones. I've had a conversation or two. I think they're the what's that wrestler from the 90s? Gangrel? I think I had a conversation with one or two of them, and they I don't know. Sometimes they smell weird, sometimes they don't. But in general, we try to avoid them. They try to avoid us, and sometimes they screw up. Sometimes they're crazy. I don't know.
Yes, so you would say though, like that's the ones who smell weird are those closer to the worm, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if the one that we interacted with smelled weird, then it could be said that they were definitely of the worm.
I didn't smell that one, but you know the smell. After a while, it smells like sewage. It smells like hate. It smells like alcohol gone bad.
Yes. So, what would you call it then if, for a Fomori then, that Misha had let it go on a run for 60 days of its own volition with little in the way of checking on it or stopping it?
Heather raises her voice a little bit and says, he didn't say Fomori for 60 days. He said vampire for 60 days.
I am using it as an example.
She nods and sets her head down. Shallowtrax looks a little confused, but then kind of shrugs. He's like, I mean, that'd be kind of like, I don't know, like, was there a purpose for it? Is there a reason for it?
Would you still call it not fighting the worm where it dwells?
It's starting to get excessive, yeah. He better have a good reason for it.
And Misha was unable to deliver such a reason, was he not?
Well, you didn't ask him it, but that's a your call.
And were you aware of the fact that he was aware of this vampire's presence for 60 days?
Well, yeah, he mentioned it a little bit a while back. Said he was listening in. He had a lead about the curtain, about like the first week it happened. He said he was going to check it in.
So the first time you heard about it was when he mentioned the curtain, roughly 40 days-ish after he had first made contact with this vampire.
Yeah, the math on that makes sense.
So you would know. So Misha managed to keep secret that he was at least keeping tabs on a vampire for almost 6 weeks without telling anyone else at the cairn that he was doing so for good reason.
I guess, yeah.
And if he did have good reason for wanting to keep this vampire in check for that time, would he not have told you, and so that way you or Heather here did not accidentally kill it if you came across it?
I mean, I don't think he'd tell me anything. It's not like I go off and actively hunt them. But for the most part, uh, we kind of leave them to the cities. As long as they don't cause shit for us, we typically we don't go too crazy on them. There are bigger fish to fry, and there's only so many of us.
Bigger fish to fry, but are you saying over 60 days you have been so busy you couldn't deal with such a threat?
I've met some vampires before, and sometimes it's easier not to kill them as long as they don't cause too much problems. They're low on the totem pole.
Well, obviously, he did not care about this vampire not dying or think it's so simple a threat that he didn't feel the need to go track it down and bring it back for our trial, did he not?
Out of character, 2 minutes. In character, I mean, you're gonna have to ask him that. I mean, he found it for you, and
I believe he found it way before he met us. It was not for us that he found it.
that's, I mean, he did burn a lead to sort of help you guys out with your story. He put you in an interesting situation. He,
Yes, he burnt a lead on the curtain, also risking the health of the Cairn. However, we're not going to bring that up. No further
uh,
questions, Your Honor.
Shadowchex rubs the back of his neck a little bit. He's a little bit confused. You did very good.
Poor shallow tracks.
10 minutes,
I-
Connor.
All right, I'm going to step up and say, so shallow tracks. Let's go back to the beginning of when this whole misadventure started, with specifically the trial that we were put under. You were there as we took a drink and we passed out. Actually, no, let's go back way to the beginning with the frog. You seem to know, at least, did you know anything about what Misha was planning to do?
Not really. He kind of just sort of suggested it to me a little bit in the way back, but yeah, he didn't exactly. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah.
Didn't you seem to have reservations about how this was supposed to be done, about what he was going to do?
Yeah. No, I had some reservations. You guys proved me wrong if it matters anything.
We'll see. So then let's fast forward from the frog to when we were taking those drinks. I distinctly recall that you were shaking your head as we were going about that. You seemed disgusted or something.
I'm not a big fan of poisoning you guys, but I think he was trying to make a point that, even your best friends you want to be careful with.
So I realize you're not a philodox, but you didn't think that perhaps that was reckless of him.
Um, I've seen some crazy things. I've seen some stupid things. I've seen some very reckless things. In the terms of reckless on a scale of 1 to 10, that's one of the more milder ones. Especially, and don't take this the wrong way, the Cubs.
And so Misha mentioned that there was precedent among the Shadow Lords for doing this, but have you ever seen this done to Cubs before? Other than us, obviously.
Can't say I have, and I've traveled quite a bit. It's definitely one of the more intense ways of doing it, but at the same time, you don't hear a lot about what the Shadow Lords do. Actually, I think the Get do something like this. You're a Get, so maybe it's fitting for you.
That's what they tell me. But that's not relevant.
Mm.
So, do you think there was a good reason for him to have tested us in this way?
Well, learning how to use sort of the anger, the rage, if you will, is one of the hardest things a Garou can do, and at least do successfully. Giving you sort of a reason, a source, a outlet, a safe outlet at that. Um, it's not the worst idea. It's definitely not the. It's definitely not the stupidest. There are some pretty bad ones out there. I'd rather you be using. I'd rather you be learning to use rage for the first time with Fomore than with me. with anyone really.
Now, do you think that this training, whether or not it is done by Shadow Lords or Geta Fenris, do you think it was disrespectful to those below his station?
You're barely considered part of the nation when you're a Kliath. When you're a cub, it's an even harder role. You might be, the dirt below someone's boot, the dirt the worms eat. And in his own way, maybe it was respectful. Maybe this is just sort of his way of saying, "Hey guys, show me what you got."
Because the rule doesn't say how to respect those beneath you, right?
One man's respect is another man's folly.
And as for the frog, you didn't raise any. Why did you not raise any objections with how Misha interpreted how he was supposed to train us in 2 weeks? Which I would add is an extreme circumstance.
He pauses for a second. He closes his eyes. He thinks. If you're good, you might even be able to see a little bit of a spark fly somewhere in his head. Interesting. He's like, well, the way I recall it, I said it was impossible to use in 2 weeks, and then he chirped up and said we could do it.
I see. But basically, after now all this has been said and done, do you think that he acted out of turn towards the frog's instructions?
Well, I'll be honest, with 2 weeks, so much we had to get done, and combat probably being one of the most important things you could learn, there are worse plays he could have started. I think the poisoning might have been a little bit too much. I think that definitely kind of crossed the line. He was trying to teach a message with that. But the Fomore, the vampire, you guys were going to have to do that sooner or later.
So, do you think it was a mitigating circumstance then, given the extraordinary circumstances?
I think, given the extraordinary circumstances that we have now, our 3 Garou first changing on the same night, and none of us being able to even know what's going outside the walls we're in. For all I know, the apocalypse is happening down in Massachusetts. For all I know, my mom's cairn is on fire. Given the crazy circumstances we have now, maybe the exceptional was needed. I don't know. That's something for the history books.
And has Misha ever has Misha ever done anything like this before? Has there, even to other cubs? One really.
I mean, I'm not from this area very well. I grew up in Massachusetts, Malden, but I'm a traveler. I don't hang around in any one area. I was actually kind of caught going north when the walls came down. I haven't been here for more than maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, and I can't say I know him too well, but he's a nice guy. He actually gives. In terms of Shadow Lords, he's a nice guy. I've met some that are just complete assholes, and they'll tell it to you your face. With that said, I do think he could have probably done things a little bit better, but I don't think it's the worst thing.
No. To circle back to something, I just want to clarify.
2 minutes. Go on.
You know he was going to. You knew he was going to poison us, correct?
I had a hunch, but I wasn't sure.
Then I'm curious, why didn't you say anything? Why did you not object?
Because honestly, sometimes I knew he wasn't going to kill you, and I knew his heart was sort of in the right place. I think, maybe I should have. I really Maybe he probably should have, but maybe he just wanted to say, hey guys, this is real. This is important. This isn't a game. And you're just gonna have to, well, learn that you can't be weak here. You gotta always be on guard.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Closing statements time.
Okay. Sabrina, you may begin.
People of the court, as you have heard over the testimony of the last few minutes, Misha straightens the spiral, has, through his incompetence, let Kindred go free for a vampire go free for 60 days, has threatened the lives of the people around him, making it to where we would be at threat of not becoming Garou and breaking the frog spirit's ruling. And through his repeated actions and complete disrespect for the trust that had been built up over the last 24 hours, disrespected us and broken the respect of those below him. It has been through his own word that he admitted several of these things, and through the confirmation of shadow tracks that he did so with gross incompetence at points. Thank you for your time. Dab out. Just kidding on the dab thing.
No, now it's canon. You can't go back.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
Oh. I feel like the gross incompetence thing set him off.
I stand up and I say, people of the cairn? Yes. I believe throughout the testimony of Misha and Shalatrax as well, that despite the harsh methods, that Misha did not do anything overtly wrong, as through the examination of the litany, which, I'll be fair, I only learned about a few hours ago, it seems that there's not always a clear cut and dry response here. Misha believed he was acting as befits a Garou of his tribe. He believed that he was combating the worm wherever it dwells and whatever it breeds by controlling the situation, and by doing so in a way that would be efficient for multiple people. Now, as for respect, one could argue that as Cubs, we are not quite worthy of that respect yet. Whether I believe that myself is not relevant to this. As for the accusation of disrespecting the command of the frog spirit, it seems pretty clear to me that he was given pretty open-ended instructions in that regard. Doesn't seem like the frog really cared exactly what way he was going to do it, so long as he wasn't straight up going to either slit our own throats. And even as harsh as poisoning us was, neither he nor Shalotrax was really worried about us perishing, and they've been at this longer than we have. Do I agree with it? That's a different story, but we were not harmed ultimately, and as was said, these are extreme circumstances which I believe mitigate any offense here. Even if not completely, I believe they mitigate it somewhat, because we only have 2 weeks to prepare, and I don't necessarily have a military background, but I know that in training for combat, you sometimes have to get shoved around a little bit. In conclusion, despite the methods that seem questionable, I do not believe that Misha has overtly violated any of the litany. And I sit down.
Fine speech. All right.
So at this point, Sejun is shuffling through his notes, like trying to compare between stuff, and all this talk about law is kind of like kind of confusing. Like, he's never been a liberal arts major kind of person. He's more of a like physical science guy.
I don't think law is a liberal arts.
And humanities. Sorry. Okay. Okay. It's not exactly like trying to like. It's not too easy to like do stuff for him at this point, and after a few minutes, he decides in the end to go what he feels like is the right decision in this case, and he begins the speech. So I have heard both arguments of the prosecution and the defense. I am not certain whether, as a participant in this right a passage that Misha has put us through, whether it is completely appropriate for me to judge his actions, or whether it is appropriate to judge them by extension. This is kind of judging for the rest of the pack right now. He points to Sabrina and Connor, but I feel that I have to try it. But I think I have come to a conclusion about the 3 articles of the litany. So he goes over each of them. So about the first article, fight the worm wherever it dwells and wherever it breathes, right?
Yep.
And I was honestly a little worried that Connor would not mention the wherever it breathes part. I am very glad that he did, and it really, and if it was just wherever it dwells, then not killing the vampire at sight could have a problematic interpretation, but adding the part of wherever breeze allows for a more relaxed interpretation of the litany, I believe. And for whether the as for whether the submit to elders tenet was violated, I feel that the I'm sorry. I feel that I feel that I I respect I respect Misha's expertise as a theurge in this occasion, and I think that it probably makes more sense that it is not necessarily a superior superior and servant kind of relationship, and it was also further clarified that he didn't exactly ask of us to do anything specific, just that we had 2 weeks to become Garou. And as for the respect those beneath the claws, I feel that in a very weird way that this was the kind of respect that they would be giving us, and I don't think that Misha or Shao Trax exactly confirmed anything that this was an overt violation of that part. And I'm just kind of like sweating right now, and like this is clearly not his expertise. So
You're doing good. You're fine. So
yeah,
I'll help you out a little bit.
okay.
Um,
Either way, Sejun's conclusion is that he did not overwhelmingly, unmistakably breach the litany. I don't know. I'm sorry.
alrighty then.
Right.
Uh,
Interesting. Misha's got a kind of a grin on his face. He's like, all right, you guys are pretty good. And perhaps the most importantly, you pushed hard on Garou far older than you. That's not easy for anyone. So, well done. Heather speaks up a little bit. She's like, some really good points. A couple of you get kind of mad. Could have been really dangerous, especially with kinfolk nearby. Be a little bit careful with that anger, especially when going after one another, because someone you have to stick a silver tongue at now, you might be expectant to have your back with a knife of silver later. Did good all around. A couple things you could have done. For one, leader may not be challenged at any time during a war. 2 weeks is pretty aggressive, almost warlike aggressive. You could have had the whole thing thrown out, saying that he was acting in an effort that this might have been war. Good debate, maybe. You could have asked, well, was he simply accountable for keeping someone who eats the flesh of others alive? Is he liable for everything that the vampire did for 2 months? Or not? Not to stretch. But it's maybe something you could have made. And well, you made the point about, is it breed and is there a time to it? But the one thing I didn't hear was submission of those to higher station. He does have a higher rank than you. You could have just said you're doing what you were told, and end of discussion, you're following the litany. With that said,
I was just going to say, I mean, for my part, I didn't think it was appropriate to bring up any other things. I was simply responding to the specific accusations.
Fair. 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 All's fair in love and Garou. He's still gonna get a little bit quote unquote punished, right, Misha? Right. So, come back at midnight. He's got some gifts for you.
Right.
Heather claps her hands a little bit. By now it's dark. It's sundown. Everyone goes and gets dinner. Everyone goes for bed. You guys probably get some food. Hang
I
out.
do. I do walk over to Sabrina and I say, "Hey, nothing personal, okay? Just to make sure you know, okay?
Nothing
You all right?
personal.
Are you all right?
Nothing personal.
Okay, good.
At some point during dinner, I'd like to walk up to Misha.
Mm.
I'll say, would he be out there, or
Oh, he's yeah.
I'll walk up to him. I'll say, good job on answering those questions.
Thank you.
I'll say, also a good job on not mentioning how long you'd seen the vampire before, or how you were monitoring us. If that were the case, I would have been forced to bring up the fact you were threatening the cairn by having us possibly kill this kindred that knew about the shroud without first getting the information out.
That I wasn't sure of myself. Would have been interesting if you did parlay and make a deal with a vampire.
I was working on it, but Sejun was a man in the situation and went for violence.
Would be a very different conversation. It would have been a very different debate, but you definitely used logic and you definitely played the game very well. And I know your heart is set on the Black Furies. Maybe your blood is too, but I do. I would. Yes, I will. If you do have an interest in Grandfather Thunder, certainly you would be an asset to the Shadows.
I think I don't want anything to do with you, so I think I'll avoid that part at least if I can't control the third part.
Well, I'll see you in a few minutes for the third part. And he gets up. He's gonna walk out.
Alright.
I'm wrapping up.
Seijun also
Go on.
probably
Mm.
like walks up to Connor and Sabrina like, oh my god, this was not the thing to do. I didn't
think-
really have a lot of time to learn it. Nothing really like personal things like that.
I think you did fine.
I think you went with your heart.
Okay.
It's on. I'm leaning close in case someone's listening. I'm like, listen, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing either, so it's fine.
Okay, so I hope I wasn't such a nervous wreck.
Oh, don't worry. With all those people watching, there were alarm bells going off at me, but I was trying to keep composed.
I'm just glad I'm not a Philodox.
World of Grayness.
World of Grayness.
World of Grayness.
Midnight comes. Gonna go out to the fire pit.
Can I get a backup point of willpower?
Yeah, it's midnight.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Here's the point where we get the marshmallows to see who is kicked off the island.
Yeah. I brought s'mores. No, just kidding.
A little bit of a sign written a little hastily on a notepad just by the fire. You can make out the words just for the dim light of the flame. Crossover.
Is there like a mirror?
On the ground.
Alright.
Okay.
Also, does the temporary rage go down at all in this time, or am I just angry?
You're just angry.
All right.
You're just saying.
What's the difficulty?
Go with a 6. Don't botch it.
We're rolling Gnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that was close.
Just need 1.
Difficulty.
We all roll notice?
Everybody rolls Gnosis.
Oh wait, can I have offer to like lead them in?
In a this time, yes.
All right.
Yeah, because I failed. Not a botch, but I failed.
Oh,
I got 3 successes.
I'm gonna let you lead them in. I typically don't like that roll, but I'll let people do it.
Out of character, why do I always have so many problems crossing over?
Because the storyteller likes it. You cross over to the world that's a little less sharp, a little bit more gray, a little bit more bright at this time of day when the moon is high and it's dark in the real. It's more bright, it's more shining. It's the opposites in the Ember. Misha's there, not too far away from the fire. He's got a couple circles around him, a couple incenses, and to his right and left and behind him are spirits. Decent sized ones too. To his left you can see a stoat. Shiny color, almost liquid in form. To his right there is a rat, and there is also a wolf. He looks at them, it's like, so, in general, we haven't taught you much about gifts. It's pretty cool and we can do it. This is the first one. First one's always free. After that, you guys are going to have to hunt down the rest of them. Maybe we'll give you a pointer or two. But for the Ragabash, for Misha,
Yes.
from Misha, for you, SJ, the common gift to get is one called Blur of the Milky Eye. Makes you a little bit more stealthier, makes you be seen a little bit less. And after having pretty much all eyes on you for quite a period of time, well, you figure you might want to be able to have the ability to get away. Sabrina, well, if you would, we're going to teach you how to sense worm. Figure to be proper. And Connor, well, you end up taking the purse. We're going to give you 2. We're going to teach you the most common Galliard gift we have, Call the Wild. It'll teach you to sing with the heart of a wolf. And for winning, little rat here has decided to teach you how to resist toxin.
Oh,
Rat
I'm honored.
walks up to you, crawls up to you, and, well, lays its paws on your legs, skitters and crawls up the side, eventually makes its way to your shoulders and bats you on the ear a few times.
I let it.
Then on one of the bites, takes a little bit of a nibble, a little bit too hard, and there's a blank, a rush. Time just seems to stop and you stare right ahead. You look a little bit frozen for a second. Misha just goes, yeah, don't give it, this will take a little bit. It's like, you ever see, you guys watch movies, you ever see The Matrix where Neo learns Kung Fu?
I know Kung Fu.
I remember, but sure.
A little bit like that. The spirit imparts information onto their subjects, sort of like a pattern into their soul. First one's always something of a most important one. The wolf walks over next and puts its paw up as if wanting to say, shake to you, Sabrina.
reach down and like scratch behind its ear.
Leans a little bit, nuzzles, rubs up and down. You kind of blink and there's a pause for a second. And finally, SJ, the little stoat creature walks up. Its paws go up in the air like it wants to be picked up.
Oh,
I extend my hand to the paw.
Gonna pick it up?
Yeah, sure.
You pick it up, glows a little bit, and as you hold it, there's just a little bit of a pause as well. Same with you, Sabrina. And there's a feeling that's best described as an imprint. It's like someone has taken a giant rubber stamp and pushed it down under your soul. A gift, an energy, a knowledge is imparted upon you. When you awakened from your little bit of a slumber, well, a couple hours might have passed. The fire in front of you, definitely a little bit lower. The sun up above definitely has moved. An hour, 2 hours, you'd have to look at the watch to see how long it's been. But Misha's kind of grinning a little bit. So, try to use the power sometime. SJ, try to be a little bit more unseen. Sabrina, follow your nose. And, well, Connor, try to howl just a little bit. And maybe, well, go drink some toxic waste, see if it does you any good.
Could I try using a sense worm right now?
Yes, please. No
All right.
gnosis.
All right. It's perception plus occult, correct?
Believe so.
Yes. So, what difficulty?
5 for this one and 5.
Sure. All right. Oh wait.
Hey, it's 1 success. That's all you need.
3 successes.
What are you specifically smelling?
I'm going to smell the area, but I'm also going to try and subtly smell the Misha area.
Mish area smells nice, clean, but as healthy as a bar of smoke, as a bar of soap. Misha, he's a little musty, like an old camel fur jacket that's been in the attic for too long. Not so much dirty, but he could go for a wash.
All right.
I would like to try and howl.
You know the roll? You know,
Stamina
Stamina.
M. What
Kinda-
difficulty?
Well, in Homid form, I'd say about 8.
Right, I'm going to switch to lupus.
No
I don't
roll
need-
on it. Don't need it. But remember your bonus for stamina while in lupus.
Switch to that 4 real quick.
Empathy, stamina, base diff 6. Don't forget your +2 for being a wolf.
Oh, yeah, I have a specialty for howling.
Is it a performance specialty?
Yeah.
Doesn't apply.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, what was the +2? I'm sorry.
In lupus form, your stamina increases by 2.
Right, I switched my forward to lupus in the thing, so.
Mhm. Stamina, empathy, and lupus bonus of stamina.
Can I try again at a higher difficulty?
Yes. Still counts as a
Difficulty
howl.
Okay, difficulty 7. Here we go.
First howl. Get a little frog in your throat, maybe.
Frog, yep.
Second one is beauty. Your colleagues lift up their chests a little bit higher, a little bit stronger. They're ready to do battle or go to sleep.
That's nice.
Last one. SJ, you want to use yours?
Sure. Yeah.
Roll for me manipulation stealth difficulty 8. That's all I want.
1 success.
Anyone that would look your way can see the sort of, well, outline of you. There's a little bit of a blur, a little bit of a shimmering obstruction. you're there, and if they really look at you, they can totally see you. But if they sort of just tilt their eye a little bit, or put you out of focus, if they forget about you just for a second, well, they might just forget that you're not there.
Kind of like blending into the surroundings.
Think of it like really good urban camo. Rural camo, even.
Oh. Okay.
Misha speaks up a little bit. So, a couple more you probably can learn. Ancestor Spirit probably be a good way for both of you to pick up with next. Bear Spirit might be pretty good too. And I got a fun one for you, for all of you eventually. But I gotta do
I
a little
can't.
bit of work.
I can't bear to wait.
Sabs, I'm pretty sure you were under the wrong moon. 100% under the wrong tribe. But SJ, gotta figure out where you belong so we can figure out what else to get you.
I have a question.
Do it quick. I gotta go to sleep soon.
We're, to get a Fenris, you said there's none of them nearby.
Not that I know. Lucky you.
I would like it would be nice to have some guidance from the supposed get a Fenris, but I guess I'll have to wait.
Well, ask Heather if there's any up north in the White Mountains. We lost a lot of souls here a couple months back, and we lost a couple more when the old elder decided to charge the wall. There's not many of us left. But if you're looking for the Get a Fenris, well, there's a lot of them up north in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's a bigger cairn. They tend to fall more Wendigo, maybe a Yucatan, but if there's going to be a Get, there's probably going to be one up there. Or, if you're feeling really lucky, maybe you can go find an avatar of Fenrir himself.
I might just have to.
There are worse fates. So,
I have a question. So, like, going through all the werewolf lore, the laws, the battle, it definitely feels like where it's a little, what's the word, anachronistic at times. I'm kind of wondering if there's any werewolves that try and like fight more modern terms. I don't know.
Yeah, all of us try to fight a little bit more modern. Shadow Lords, without question, fight very modern. After all, communication's a relatively new thing. But if you're good with a computer, you might be a glasswalker. If you're good with, I don't know, maybe a carjack or maybe a sledgehammer, you might be a bone gnawer.
What are those tribes?
Well,
Those are the tribe specialties.
I wouldn't recommend the bone gnawers. They're the one tribe in the litany that it's okay to make fun of.
Bonar suck.
Mm-hmm.
It's that famous Slipknot song.
Mm-hmm. Other ones, the Glasswalkers, formerly known as the Iron Riders. Children of men, if you will. They're the ones that they ally with the Weaver. They ally with machines. They can do some very powerful things with technology. Things that, well, they've adapted very well to the modern world. It's something our tribe, my tribe, can't say we do very well, though we've picked up a couple tricks here and there, a couple little ways to learn and grow. But if you are interested in the newest, most modern, and the cutting edge, Glasswalkers.
I wordlessly nodded.
If you're really curious, and this is a favor, there might be a way to figure it out, but I gotta call in a favor. Someone that, well, I know isn't exactly worm tainted, but not exactly approved for Garou, if you know what I mean.
Or like your vampire.
No, not a vampire, but someone who tends to work alone, but tends to be able to help out individuals that need to see something. We tend not to get along, and she tends not to enjoy the Garou very well. But, I mean, desperate times, right?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
If that's what you're interested in.
I think it's like 12 days now.
Got to
13,
15.
13, 12, yeah.
It's probably about 1 a.m. now. You're on day 3.
That depends. Did he count it? Did the frog spirit count like the beginning of that day as the first day, or like the end of that day, or from that point?
You're
Probably
welcome
from
to
that
go
point.
wake him up and ask him.
I'm not gonna wake up giant frog. Is it giant frog he or she, or does it not care?
In general, spirits don't really have genders, but I'm not getting into this debate again.
Alright.
Okay.
With that said, actually, if you ask a spirit honestly what its gender is, it's going to tell you whatever the heck it wants. As it should.
Yeah.
I digress. This has actually been a debate on some werewolf post, but whatever. If you want, use your time wisely. You can split up. One of you can go and talk to one of my friends. Another one of you can try to go and maybe, well, you have to go talk to your parents, don't you? Have you made a decision about that, or do you want to wait till tomorrow morning?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Talking to all of you.
Oh,
Oh, you said that. I thought that I couldn't contact with anyone out of state.
Physically, you cannot, but there might be ways. For example, try to directly contact anyone, computer shuts down, phone turns off, things break. Indirectly, however, you go and talk to your college and say, hey, everything's fine, I'm a living, everything's great, and then when your parents call up that college and they look up that individual's records, well, that's fine. It's just us that it affects. It's like being unlucky.
what about postal service? Like, if you write a message, does it like get destroyed at the wall?
Mysteriously falls out of the black bag.
So the regular postal service.
It's like being unlucky.
And for my parents, if they don't know, I can't really tell them anything, can I?
What do you want to tell them? Are they kinfolk? They have a right to know if they're kinfolk, but
Can I tell them then? Because they don't seem... Again, I have no... There's nothing in my... At least I don't think there's anything in my family history that comes up as relating to this.
honestly, it might be better if you don't tell them. Some people act differently.
But
That's
wait,
your call.
I have 2 sisters. What if this happens to them?
Odds are there. If both of your parents aren't of the wolf, it's a roll of the dice and you need to hit a 1.
I have to at least come out of... I don't even have my phone. There's probably hundreds of messages on there.
It probably got destroyed.
I think I have one thing on my side is that I don't think I told them where I was going. So for all they know, a massacre happened somewhere else, and I've just been out of contact for a few days.
Not unheard of for those after a tragedy to walk around aimlessly or be at a different hospital, but you have maybe 3 days to make that call. You're on day 3, so when you wake up tomorrow morning, you all got some decisions to make about what you want to do.
I think I'm at least going to. Well, I also don't live with them, so I think I have that going for me too. I think I'm going to tell them
You know what?
pretend
You know
like
what?
everything. What?
Tell me tomorrow morning, because I need something for the people that are watching along to tune into next time.
Makes sense.
With that, I'm calling it.
Ah!
Woof.
Good night, everyone.
That's a long
Exhausting.
game.
Good session. That was a very long game. Night, people.
Like,
3,